morning. I would like to call this meeting to order. And I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Carrie Linklater and I'm your chairperson today. And I'm joined on the panel by Susan Gifford to my left, Mr. Richard Whitbread to my far left. Our city assessor today is Mr. Dutchan Ramswack, and our admin secretary is Kelsey Harrison. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. And as for information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Now, if I could ask that everybody makes sure that their cell phones are turned off, please. Mr. Ramswack, you're ready? And we'll start with 682 Park Boulevard.
Would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm with us? And could you please state your name?
I'm Dutchan Ramswack.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to swear in on the Bible or? And could you please state your name? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And do you have evidence swearing? One of each.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, we proceed. Now, this first property here is on 682 Park Boulevard South with a road number 1000-371-7200. It is in Tuxedo, that is South Tuxedo. A little bit about the property. It's a two-story single-family home. It was built in 1982. got a full basement, and the records should show that the development in the basement is about 1,400 square feet. Multiple garage, a lot size that is considered sort of average for Tuxedo, 13,851 square feet. The assessment on this property is $901,000, which I am defending, which I would ask to be confirmed later. There are 4 properties here that have been selected to defend this value as well as support the value of the subject property. All of these properties are in the same neighborhood characteristic area in South Tuxedo. Comparable number 1 is on 685 Park Boulevard, which is, you would say, sort of opposite or obliquely opposite that of the subject property. 3,222 square feet in size, which is virtually the same size of that of the subject. It was built around the same time, which is 1981. It's got a basement finish that on record is 1,120 square feet according to my information here. The difference is that it does have a swimming pool. The swimming pool is built, as from records we have it at 1984 possibly. A lot size is slightly larger, and it's $980,000, which is the unadjusted price or the selling price for the property. However, there is a slight adjustment as for time, which would amount to an additional $7,000. I should bring that to $987,000. When you look at the 2 properties, when you look at what the difference would be, comparable number 1 certainly does support the subject property at $901,000. Comparable number 2 then at number 16 Devon Tree Place. Again, in South Tuxedo, as they all are. 2-story home, slightly larger and newer. It's got a finished basement. 12,236 square feet is the size of the lot. The time adjusted sale price on this property is $809,000. Comparable number 3 on number 7 Bardsley Place. 2-story home built around 1989, which is a little newer, also a little bit larger. $944,000 is the adjusted sale price for this property. And comparable number 4 and 46 Billingham Place. Against a 2-story home built in 1981, a little smaller. I would say about 450 or more square feet, smaller than that of the subject property. This one is $789,000. So in any case, a size adjustment would be required for the comparable number 4, which would, if you had the same property were larger by 400 and odd square feet, it will certainly closer to that of the subject property. So all these properties that I have here certainly support the assessment of 682 Park Boulevard, and therefore ask that you conform it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Do you have any questions?
I do, just a couple. Your assessment per square foot is
Would you
200.
turn the mic on, please? I don't hear.
Sorry,
well.
speak into the mic. Yes, sir.
Is it on now?
Is
Should be turned off. Is it turned on?
is he being recorded as well, or? Is
No,
it
no,
just
no, it's just for
for
hearing.
his hearing?
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor.
Yes, you mentioned your, or sorry, it says here your total assessment per square foot is $275 per square foot, correct?
I'm sorry, $275 is what
Per
it
s-
says
Per
here?
square foot,
Mhm.
correct. So your comparables here range from 231 to 304?
That I see. Mhm.
Yeah, and of your 2 that are either the 304 and the 275 and the higher one, you mentioned the first comp had a swimming pool, and it actually does have 3,000 more square feet on the lot, correct?
I mentioned there is a swimming pool, but what I did not mention is price per square foot, because I do not refer to price per square foot when I make my presentation. I do not necessarily place any emphasis on it unless I absolutely have to by looking at whatever adjustment is it as the last comparable, in which case it would have to be make an adjustment for that, which would increase it. I go by the value of the property and not price per square foot.
So you're saying don't value it based on square
I
footage?
do not refer to it as price per square foot. I'm not here to defend price per square foot. I'm here to defend the entire value as a whole.
So, okay, all right. So you're suggesting that it should sell for 901 based on 4 comparables that sold from ranging 770 to 980?
I'm suggesting at $901,000.
Based on 4 comparables that sell from 770 to 980?
Right. Mhm.
Okay. But of course then, the 980 would also include a larger lot and a swimming pool, correct? On the first comp?
Yeah, you would want to make adjustment for those, of course.
Okay, so there should be an adjustment, okay.
Well, yeah, when you do the reconciliation, it will eventually come down to around the $900,000.
And your second one here then sold for 850, and that was larger and newer, you mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
And then third one, you said that was also newer and larger?
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth one would be smaller, and an adjustment would be required for the smaller one. Okay.
Correct.
Great. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitford?
I'm not seeing anything on sales history or previous assessed value history, although the applicant has provided information about previous assessment. Do you have any information?
As a matter of fact, I did take some information of previous assessment. We have to keep in mind that anytime we come here is always a new hearing, and I don't necessarily disagree or agree on the on assessment that was provided or judged earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, just, I'm obviously not reading something correctly here. You have a sale price of $980, sale price square foot adjustment of $304, or is that the adjusted, is that the adjustment, $304?
Which one is it?
Sale price per square foot, sorry, okay. Time adjustment, $987.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying the total adjusted value of comp one is $987,800, right?
Well, the first one is $987,000. That would actually be the value for 685 Park Boulevard. That's comparable number 1.
Okay, and that was after your adjustment for lot area, for land area, and
No, that's the. See, all things are considered here. We have the swimming pool. We have the lot size between 1,500 square feet as opposed to 1,300 square feet for the subject property. I don't know that I would make any adjustment for that.
okay, but you say time adjusted sale price per square foot. Have you done that time adjustment?
I do not refer to these by square footage. I look at the entire property. And yes, you can see that
So
as a reference.
$987,800 is your total adjusted.
I look at the
Okay.
987.
That was
Yeah.
my question.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mr. Ramswak, did you have a chance to inspect this property?
I'm glad you asked that question, Madam Chair. I did make a request. I even have it, a request that I sent to Mr. Neufeld, Senior, and he said he's gonna get back to me to this date. This is about 3 weeks ago or longer. I haven't heard from him regarding the inspection.
So you did not have a
I
chance to
did
go?
ask, I did request the inspection.
Okay. Do you have the email? I'm assuming you were emailing? Do you have the email?
I think I do have the email for that, Madam Chair, so if you wanna bear with me, please. Let the record show, you did respond to me about trying to, and said that you tried to contact them, but I haven't heard from him since after I sent my email and he responded to the email.
Thank you. Did you have a chance to go into any of the comparisons?
Well, The comparison I would have looked at would be from multiple listing, and I didn't drive by, nor did I go and inspect the
Okay.
comparable properties either.
All right. So out of the 4 comparisons you've provided, which do you feel is your best comparison?
I'll have to look at it again, Madam Chair. I see the reality is that when we look at comparable number 1, and off the cuff here, I'm seeing that it is 987. Now, when I take an adjustment off for the swimming pool, and the swimming pool is not going to be a lot because it is already an older swimming pool.
Right.
When we take a swimming pool that is not a lot, we see a property that is opposite that of the same subject property in terms of location. We see it was built around the same time, 1981, has about the same size, has a rec room and everything else. The other difference is 2,000 square feet, which as an appraiser I would not make any adjustment for that. Through a reconciliation process, I might say, okay, somebody might probably choose that one over the other, so let's give or take a small amount, up to $1,000 perhaps, and I'm serious about that. And so when we make any kind of adjustment, Madam Chair, it's not going to be below $900,000, if at all.
So comparison 1 is your best.
Comparison number 1 is my best comparable, yes.
Okay. So you acknowledge that the subject property being on Park Boulevard is probably the most prestigious address in this area, correct?
I do, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. What was the percentage increase in this area from the previous assessment?
Give me a
here?
moment, I should
Yes,
just
I know
double
you
check
have
that.
that.
It was 5.82%.
Thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. Neufeld, if you'd like to proceed.
I'm gonna be short and sweet for this one, mostly because the next one won't be. Basically, we valued this space with my page 4. We assess houses. Generally, we just take lots of raw data. You don't really have the opportunity to inspect all of these. It is very difficult to inspect a lot of comparables. The assessment department is also not inspecting most of the ones as well. We took a survey of houses sold in the area, and just going through them all, we have a mean of 248 and a median of 237. The comparable that Rocky selected to be closest was 301 Shaftesbury, and for that reason, that's why he is lower than the mean at 194 for his request. My comparables are here. There is some detail on them. 301 Shaftesbury is a large lot like the subject. I think that the assessor's comments that the sale price per square foot were inaccurate, or not relying on the sale price per square foot are inaccurate. I think that is one of the major components when evaluating a house, and it should be done so today. This house is on Park. I'm not gonna lie, it's a good house, but there are other comparables in the area that are supporting reduction in the assessment than the ones that the assessor brought forward. He mentioned that his best comparable was 980, and it is on 2,000 square feet, more of a lot, and it has a swimming pool, and I would argue that that is not very comparable, and that's why we're so far away from that. But we did look at that one, and it is in our analysis.
Thank you. Mr. Ransbach, did you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The name, sir, is Mr. Neufeld as well, is it not?
Sorry?
You're Mr. Neufeld as well?
Yes.
Okay. Were you the gentleman that was here the last assessment on the same property?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. So you were asking how much now? Do I see 637,000?
637,000.
Okay. And were you aware then that the last assessment, regardless of what you or the other person was asking, was far below what was
I think you mentioned that we have a new hearing every cycle, and everything's reevaluated every cycle, so I don't know how that's relevant today.
Okay, yeah, I did mention that, but what I'm trying to say is that you're asking lower than what it was before.
it's just,
I'm trying to figure out why.
just based on the data that I have here today.
And your data was based on averages?
Yep.
Are you still a member of the Appraisal Institute?
Sorry?
Are you a member of the Appraisal Institute?
Student member.
Okay, all right, so by now you probably know that the Appraisal Institute does not condone averages on determining residential properties.
Do you have, I've never heard that.
Okay, well, you hear it now.
Do you have that,
Mr.
do you have
Ram-
any evidence to
Excuse me,
support that?
Mr.
Sorry.
Ramswack, you know, I don't want to discuss the appellant's credentials or what, you know,
Madam Chair, but I need to
I
know
know, but we're just
what I'm
basing,
asking.
I know, but we're basing this on your evidence that you've provided here. So if
Mhm.
you could continue with that, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I don't get a chance to present my case here,
You are presenting your case.
but you're not giving me a chance to ask my question, Madam Chair.
You know what, it is not fair to be asking the appellant's credentials. They are here
Well,
as a
okay,
citizen.
I'll tell you what, Madam Chair. Perhaps I should have said earlier about my credential. And I
You
think,
know what, you're here as a city assessor, Mr. Ramswack, and if you could proceed, please, thank you.
okay, and if Madam Chair, you're saying if I disagree with certain things the appellant is saying, you tell me you don't have the right to ask me a question.
Of course you can disagree,
Okay, thank
and
you,
that's
Madam Chair.
fine.
Thank you, you can leave it like
Okay.
that. Okay, well, you didn't produce a whole lot more evidence except showing averages. And so, sir, I'm gonna ask you, which of these properties you're placing your weight on?
The third comparable I mentioned is 301 Shaftesbury. That's what my closest comparable
And
is.
can you tell us why?
Similar size, similar good area, similar area.
So you just base our property strictly on size and so on only, right? Because what other information do you have? I don't see a picture or so, anyway, you have it here. Would you make any adjustment to location, Shaftesbury as opposed to Parkville?
Not for this the purpose of today's hearing.
Pardon me?
Not for the purpose of today's hearing, based on most of the information provided by the assessment department and your comments as well.
Okay, then I'm done. I've made my presentation and then I ask that I ask that the panel confirm your assessment at 9:01. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Biffett.
Mhm. Maybe a couple of questions. I note your comment about 301 Shaftesbury.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. I guess I'm wondering why you don't use, if you're looking at comparables, the first, second, and 15 Driscoll Crescent on your list, which are all comparable in size, comparable in date built. Are you following me?
Sorry, which Driscoll?
Number 1 and number 2.
Number 1 and 2.
And then down to 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, about-
Driscoll.
Yeah, Driscoll, 9.
Driscoll, I will just look into Park. The number one that the assessor did bring forward, that was the one he claimed was the most comparable, and that one, it does have the swimming pool and 2,000 more square feet. So it's comparable enough to use in an analysis, but not comparable enough to use directly. And as he said, it is not always about price per square foot, it is also about a sale of a lot of records. So for that one, I don't think that's a perfect comparable. 23 Swindon is reasonable. That would be within the range of what this house would be worth. And then 15 Driscoll, I just have to go through it. Just give me a second, sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, 15 Driscoll here, the blurb's quite quick, but it mentions main floor cherry hardwood floors throughout. It's very well finished inside. I didn't bring the actual listing, yeah, I did. The impression that we got was that it was much better finished than the subject.
So that leads me to my second question, which, have you visited the home, the subject home?
This one I have not.
You have not. So can you comment at all on the condition of the home?
Not enough for today, no. I know it's not It's not extravagant, but I wouldn't put much weight on those words.
But you don't know whether it's been replaced with hardwood floors, with...
Recently, I don't
Tile.
believe so. It's been not within the last 10 years, as far as I know.
So the assessor has indicated effective age of 82. To the best of your knowledge, that
That's
is
reasonable.
effective?
I think that's about reasonable assumption.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, your 301 Shaftesbury Boulevard, I noticed it was built in 1974. What's the effective age of that one?
Effective age, 301. The effective age really is more of a concept that we use in assessment. It isn't detailed, but I mean, based on features hardwoods, brick, teak walls, beam ceilings. I would imagine effective age would be similar to the subject in 1980.
What about the upgrades from 1974? Do you know that on the comps?
On comps, I don't have much of that information, no.
Okay, because that's the same with 74 Hopwood, 1988, 14 Birkenhead, 1966, and 516 Kelvin Boulevard at 1970. Were there, you don't know about the upgrades on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have when we do this, we get basically the little blurb that the agent provided. Generally, homes that are selling in this area aren't being sold with zero updates. I mean, when you are reselling, it is in 1966. Imagine some of it's done, but it says here, great flow, open living dining space, cozy panel den, sunroom, Indian kitchen. It doesn't really mention much about updates, no. So that, yes, you could argue that potentially it should move upwards a slight bit when you're analyzing.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're using 301 Shaftesbury
Yes.
Boulevard as your best comparison?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you agree the subject property being on Park Boulevard, once again, what I had asked the city assessor, is
Yes.
a very prestigious street? Would you say Shaftesbury Boulevard is a prestigious street in Tuxedo?
Yes. Not as much as Park, but yes. If we're well, it's still Tuxedo, I suppose. In Tuxedo, it's not
Have you-
as prestigious as the rest.
Have you driven down Shaftesbury Boulevard?
I have, yeah. No, I went this.
Would you not agree that it's a major thoroughfare?
Not a major thoroughfare, but it's more so than Park, yes. You can get from Grant to Taylor and Park as well, though, so there are people that, I actually find myself driving around Park more often. But yes, that is a good comment, good point there, and a valid comment. And then, of course, the school being there probably doesn't help either.
Okay. Thank you, that's all my questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Ramswack, if you'd like to proceed with,
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you
Yes,
for recognizing the difference in location that Shaftesbury. Okay, the other one, 23 Course Lake. Now, I should point out, and I think the appellant would want to have some input before I proceed with this. I believe I received an email from you, I don't have that email. Mr. McCall, I did receive an email from you yesterday, I think it was. Was it?
That was my brother, but yeah.
Oh, was it your brother? Okay, all right. So then are you aware then that you guys have an issue of how we proceed with this? And can you explain that to the panel before we proceed?
There's an extensive amount of work being done on the home, and we just didn't want to indulge the details. I am talking about it. I didn't want to provide a quote of the exact details of what's being done. It has been provided to Patricia Bishop, my supervisor, this morning. We, her and I discussed it. They are aware of it. I'm going to be talking about the raw number. I'm not going. It's basically structural and envelope concerns, and we just don't want it to be in the public domain. The full extent of it. I know it requested that as well. I can go into full detail. It'll make sense, but that was for my presentation. So
okay, but you discussed that with Ms. Bishop as well?
I have, yes.
Okay. Mr. Mr. Ramswack, you're aware of this discussion?
Yes, I'm aware partly of that, Madam
Okay.
Chair, and therefore I wanted him to at least have the floor and explain that to you, so
Yeah.
as to know how we proceed in this now. It goes further to say they don't even want this on camera, if my memory serves me right, and it does serve me right. So, and that's up to the panel to make that decision. Also, one of the issue is that in the email I was told that they prefer to go in case management or municipal board hearing. So if that is the case, my presentation is going to be very, very short by suggesting that we have the comparables to suggest that it's supposed to value and therefore
Okay.
if they want to go.
Sorry,
Let-
Carrie, which one are we on?
Carelessly.
Yeah, I'm trying to put it into the microphone.
Yes, but we're just discussing that.
Okay.
Yep, you know what, we're just gonna proceed.
If I could just comment on that just quickly, I did mention, there was talk about this being more suited for the case management process that the municipal board is putting forward. However, I do believe I have sufficient evidence for a decision to be made by this panel.
Yeah, and
So
it's
I-
on the docket,
and I
so
would-
we're gonna hear
I would
it.
appreciate that.
Right.
So is there a ruling then that you proceed as normal?
It's on the docket, so we're gonna hear it. If you could
Okay,
proceed,
and
start
you
with the
agree
roll
with that,
number.
Mr. Newfield as well?
Start with the roll number.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
All right, okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
No, no.
I
Thank you
wasn't
much.
sure what we were talking about here.
Okay, now in respect to this subject property here, 23 Course Lake, roll number 1000-406-2400 in South Tuxedo, two-story, single-family home. It was built in 2006. 7,851 square feet is the size of the home, with a walkout basement and a fully finished basement with multiple bathroom and in-ground swimming pool. 19,510 square feet is the size of the lot and backing onto a retention pond. 31,000, which is $3,174,000, is the assessment of the property, and I think that is fair. Now, unless we can inspect this property at some point in time, we're gonna have to have sufficient information to suggest that the property is only 13 years old, it's gonna have issues with the construction or whatever work is to be done. Now, the couple or few properties that I have here, three of them in particular, and that I have here, number one, comparable is 123 Hansard. Two-story single-family home built in 2005, 2,000 square feet smaller than that of the subject property, and it is got a lot size that's slightly larger. $2,460,000 is the unadjusted sale price. $2,526,000 is the adjusted selling price for the property. When you make an adjustment for size, then those values are going to change. Two other properties that I'm going to be putting more weight on in this case is 137 Hansard, which is comparable number 2 on the other one. And this also is a two-story home built the same year of that of the subject property. Lot size that is a little bit larger than that of the subject, $3,600,000 for this property. Again, it is slightly smaller, even if we make an adjustment for this property subject on the comparable, even $36,000 is going to be larger because we have to increase it for size. So it's going to come up to more than $37,000 as the adjusted selling price. That's comparable number 2. Comparable number 3 is very similar in terms of value. Now, two-story single-family home was built in 1980. Obviously, this home had substantial amount of renovation for it to increase in the effective age of the property based on renovation. It is closer to that of the size of the property, although it's about 500 square feet smaller. 2,400 square feet is the size of the lot, and there is a parking fence. Now it's very possible it's either backing onto or maybe opposite the park. So the $545,000 is the adjusted value or adjusted selling price of the property, which is about $400,000 higher than that of the subject. I will leave my presentation with these three comparables. It wouldn't make any sense to go on with the third one, it's that much smaller. Certainly the comparable number 2 and 3 does support the value of the subject property, and I ask that you conform with Madam Chair.
Okay, sorry, are you withdrawing comparison of?
No, I'm not withdrawing, I'm not putting any emphasis on it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Questions?
Yes. I agree with you that comparables 1 and 4 are, sorry, I am just gonna talk about your comparables 1, 2, and 3 if you don't mind. Are you aware that comparable 2 is on 2 titles and has an extra lot on that title that could be possible for subdivision?
No, without any evidence, no, I don't know that, and I would tend to, I'm going to speculate that I can't agree with that because, I had the chance to look at many properties in the area over time. If you have evidence, you can present, but I don't know that.
Just one copy here, but the listing here, and it is 2 titled lots.
Okay, well, you'll present that in your.
Yeah, I don't have it. I didn't, it's not a comparable of mine, so is it in my evidence?
You're presenting it. It's in your evidence.
Okay. Your comp 3, that has 5,000 more square feet on the, 5,000 square foot larger lot, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, what do you think, what is your opinion of what the land is worth in this area?
I would look at that, and when I consider that the subject property has a retention pond, and the other property has a influence by a park, I would not make any adjustment for that.
So you wouldn't make an adjustment for 5,000 square foot difference?
I would not make an adjustment because they have different influences.
Okay.
And if I do, through my reconciliation process, at the end of it, when I'm done everything and have investigate the property or the subject property as well as comparable in details through my reconciliation process, it may be considered, but for the time being, I would say that if there's anything at all, it should be very marginal.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitford?
Just so I'm clear then, you were not able to see the interior?
That is correct.
Okay, no, that's fine.
No, I have no questions.
Did you have a chance to look at any of the comparables?
I would only have looked.
Inspect, drive by, or?
No, Madam Chair.
Well, that's all my questions, thank you. Let's hear what you have to say.
Okay, I do have a bit more evidence. Basically, it's a study Rocky did not too long ago regarding, it was Lynn Ridge specific, but regarding the lot sales on lake lots versus non-lake lots. And it's basically just raw data, it's really detailing that the difference isn't huge. And the comments that the assessor made are probably unfounded. I'll let you. Just generally speaking, when we're looking at size per square foot, the sizes are larger and on the lake lots, and quite frankly, aren't selling for much different. This is obviously old data, but it is suggesting that the lake to some people is more valuable perhaps, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, doesn't change a whole lot. I won't get into too much detail about that. The main concern with this site, or this house, it was purchased and there was an extensive amount of work that was required. Basically, it was designed by a Californian architect that didn't really accommodate for our winter and our climate. These problems were made apparent after the purchase. You go to my page 7. This is basically the transfer of land in 2014 for the sworn value of 2.7. And the final page 8 is the 2018 certificate of agreement that we made with Mr. Strachan and signed by Mill Chambers for this value of 2.7. Now, when we did this, we had Mr. Strachan tour the site and review all the issues that were on with the envelope and structure, and we kind of left it as something that we would discuss for 2020, and the value for 2018 of 2.7 was very fair. If you go to my page 7, I have under the title there, I have the repair cost detailed. 2014, $200,000 was spent immediately, and that was in order to make, because the decking in the back wasn't actually structurally sound, and you couldn't walk on it. This was something they weren't aware of when they purchased it. 2018 was other repairs, and again, in 2018, and this is what was provided to Ms. Bishop, there's an estimate of work that's been started on last week for $724,000. When we made this agreement with Mr. Strachan for the 2018 assessment, we had assumed the damages were only at about 433. So it was worse than we anticipated, but we had came to an agreement that it was fair to go with the sale price for 2018, and then once we knew the extent of the damage, we would then re-review it for 2020. If looking at the assessment that is out at 3.174, it would be for a home that is fully, it would even be a bit high for it, but it would be for a home that is actually completely livable and requires no work. This is nearing $1 million of work that was made after purchase. Basically, he's into it for 3.5, and it's probably worth 2. So, I do have comparables. You'll note that I believe. Make sure I get where I say that. Yeah, my first comparable is the same as the assessor's first comparable, and again, there aren't very many homes like this in the city. There is not much of a market for it. There aren't very many people who who are purchasing more than $1 million homes. So the data for it is limited. As you can see, we both have houses that aren't exactly, I wouldn't say are perfect comparisons, but I do think that once Kerslake, albeit it did sell for quite a bit less, it is somewhat very comparable to the site. However, it is not as new. It is older. But you will note that the original asking price of one Kerslake was $1.988 million, and it eventually sold for $1.275, and that's a strong indicator of how difficult it is to sell homes like this in this city. You have an idea of what it's worth, and then it turns out no one wants it, so then you end up going a lot lower. And all of my 3 comparables here, actually, yeah, this first one was sold for $400 under list, and the third one was sold for $300 under list. The conversation that my brother had with Mr. Ramzowak, which was then forwarded to, because Supervisor Patricia Bishop was basically not to give full details of the extent of the damage. They're detrimental to the home, and we just didn't want to have the quote provided. The value is what it is. I do, when we suggested for case management, that was strictly because this would be something that could be shared to a board member and would be in the public domain, because when it is case management, it is still private. But it's, like I said, it's still sufficient enough evidence, I believe, to make a decision based on what we know to be the repair cost and the comparables I have provided. And of course, the agreement made by the assessor for 2018, that the reduction was reasonable of $300,000 for 2018. And if Mr. Strachan is currently in sick leave, so this did make it a little more difficult to communicate with him and what was done to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we proceed with the property, you were mentioning about 127 Hansard, you have information on that suggests that my information here is flawed.
Sorry, yes, all that thank you for bringing that back up, I forgot. But all that I mentioned was on its comp 2. I do have one piece of paper I can show you. There are two lot of records on this site. You can see that it's lot 1 and 2.
Are you submitting that as
I
evidence?
can, yes. Yeah, I just only have one copy.
Did you want me to make a copy?
Yeah. Can you put it aside after and we'll have?
I can leave it here.
And we'll have Ms. Harrison make copies after. I'm not gonna stop proceedings right now to do that. But
Okay,
if
can
you
I
could
take
just
a
share,
look at it?
yeah, and then just share it
Yeah,
with us,
mhm.
please.
Appreciate that, thank you. Obviously, the argument being that if you can put another house on it, it would be worth more.
I'm not seeing anything conclusive here, Madam Chair, unless you can point out some more, but I do want to ask, on this here, you want me to not ask on this one anymore, you say?
Go ahead.
Because I'd like to know, when you said that you can put another house, can you at least describe for me, because I don't have that, I'm not looking at it, what part of this house is, or the house is in what part, or parts of this land?
So, what are your questions? Sorry.
What's the location? How would you where would you place this house? Is it on the north side of the lot, south side of the lot, or the middle of the lot?
I just had evidence to dispute your evidence, I didn't review that.
So,
It's two
so
lots.
if you have evidence to dispute this,
But it is your
where
evidence.
is the evidence?
So I
Well, where is your
would
evidence
suggest
to
that you
dispute
should
it?
have brought that.
You suggest that I,
Should have brought the evidence to support you.
sir,
on
I'm telling you that this property is not going to be subdivided.
It's on 2 lots.
It's not on 2 lots, sir.
There are 2 legal lots on it, and I have evidence of that.
Very frustrating. Okay, so you're not going to produce any evidence on that, I understand.
The Madam Chair is holding it at the moment.
Okay. Let me see what else I can do for you. Well, the only obvious thing I see here, this property was not sold for $2,700,000, was it? It wasn't sold, it was just a...
Yes, it was sold for $2.7 million.
And who was it sold to and who was it sold from?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I missed
No,
that
it's okay.
question.
From Gina Lynn Weinberg to Stephen Lee Vicker.
Okay, all right. Sold value $2 million. I don't have any other question, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Whitaker?
I read the 123 Hansard real estate description of property, and it sounds very glamorous, very beautiful, very updated.
Yep.
What I hear you saying, based on your number, to upgrade what was received last week, the subject property, very different than, from what you know, not having seen.
I have been in the subject, actually, yes.
Oh, you have?
I have,
Sorry.
yes, no, I
Okay.
have. And like I said, it's structural and envelope issues that are, there were pictures, the assessment department does have pictures as well. It's heating.
But the finishes,
Finishes are nice, yes.
as perhaps described in 123 Hansard?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right,
But,
thank you for
but-
clarifying that.
Yes. Beautiful. It's just, it
Yeah.
requires a lot of work to be livable.
I'm sorry, what was the total repair cost on this? Like, what was it costing you to repair for the heating?
That was the 724.
Okay, and what did that involve?
That is basically what I'm requesting to be somewhat private in this hearing. I realize that is difficult for you to make that decision, but it essentially frost.
Okay. And,
Sorry, to
Sorry.
detail, I can't explain this. It was designed by a Californian architect who brought Californian crews in to build it.
okay.
And it's as we all know, it's not California. So that is really how it was designed.
You just have full, yeah, okay. The list of sales you have here for the lakefront versus regular frontage,
Yep.
So these are, okay, I realize these are all within the same
Yeah,
development.
it's all one subdivision, and the concept being that the price per square foot is similar because they're much larger, they're much larger lots. Not much larger, but larger lots, so you get a similar price per square foot. So to suggest that actual raw adjustment for the pond is warranted is it's potential, but it's not, there's not a whole lot to base that on.
Were these actual sales between?
These are yes.
They're not developer sales?
They made it, they were subdivided by the Winnipeg by Qualico, and then
Okay,
sold to
Qualico eventually-
two other developers who then purchased or built homes,
Okay,
or
so
two
it's-
users.
So they are developer, purchaser, and.
Lynn Ridge was a bit of a mix. It depends on how quick you got there, really. My father lives there. He purchased his lot from Qualico. A lot of the ones were purchased from the original subdivision, and then a lot of them were then sold to builders who then built homes and sold theirs.
Okay.
But Lynn Ridge was very, it was quick on the market, and a lot of people were wanting to be there, so it's reasonable to assume a lot of those were purchased by the end user.
But you don't know which ones were purchased by the end user? Okay, that's my questions. Thank you.
I do have one more, Terry.
Oh, go ahead.
So your view of the value of the property?
Essentially,
Or assessment of the
sorry.
property?
Oh, yeah, just essentially that the money was spent and the incredible amount that needed for repairs is, if you were to sell this home today, is only worth $2 million because the repairs are not done. If the repairs are finished at some point in the future, I would suggest that maybe in 2022 it could be assessed at.
But for now, what is the number in your
The value estimates are $2 million.
Sorry?
It's $2 million.
2.0?
2-0.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Neufeld, you stated that you were in the home,
Yep.
and you said there was an issue with heating.
It's frost. There's water getting.
Okay. Did you also say something earlier about a deck?
Yeah, the deck, the 200,000 that I mentioned on my page 7, the first repair cost, the decking that is at the back wasn't actually made for people load. So they went out there and assumed that it was an actual balcony, but it was just more aesthetic. So there was 200,000 that was required in order to bring that up to standards.
Sorry, is it a balcony or a deck?
I guess a balcony, yeah.
So it's off the second story?
Second story, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
And you're asking for $2 million?
Correct.
Leave it with us.
Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Ramsbach, you're okay to do another, you're okay to continue? We'll take a break after the next one.
Yeah, okay.
14 Lake Auburn Bay.
Yes.
And would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm without?
Affirm.
And would you please state your name for me?
My name is Barry Robert Hill.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And do you have any evidence for me?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, in respect to this subject property, number 14 Lake Auburn Bay with a rule number 0306, 4427100. It's a single family home, 1 story, built in 1978. It has 1,232 square feet with a finished basement, and for the records, I did check, it's 876 square feet that we have on our records for the basement finish. 6,527 square feet is the size of the lot, and the assessed value, $380,000. There are 4 comparables that is here to support the value. Comparable number 1, 80 Quincy Bay, 1 story single family built around the same time. About 40 square feet, 42 square feet smaller than that of the subject property. I know it has a basement, but I don't have the number, the size of the basement for this or the second comparable either, or the fourth one either. $394,000 is the time adjusted sale price for the subject, for the this comparable. That would suggest that when you do the comparable number 1 with that of the subject property, does support it. Comparable number 2 is on 204 Augusta Drive. It's a 1 story single family home. It was built in 1976, and apparently this one had some kind of renovation done to it. $364,800 is the value of this one. This one apparently is lower than that of the subject, but it is a comparable nevertheless. Comparable number 3 on 27 Lake Green Place. That's built around the same time. 1,192 square feet. 844 square feet is the size of the basement finish. It has a larger lot. 8,500 square feet, that's the size of the lot. About $380,000 is the adjusted selling price for this one, which is the same as that of the subject property. And comparable number 4 on Chancellor Drive, built in 1974, 1,262 square feet, with a lot size that is similar, and it's $370,000. Of these comparables, 2 of them are actually slightly, only one of them is slightly higher, and the other 3 comparables are a little lower than that of the subject property. At this point in time, Madam Chair, I don't have any other information to suggest that, or make any recommendation rather, on this property here. Because I haven't seen it, and the reason I haven't seen it because it wasn't sold for the longest time. No MLS listing for me to do any comparables. Only based on legislation, as long as within the margin of error, so many percent, that's what we have to leave it at the $380,000. Thank you.
Good morning. Do you have any questions of the assessor?
What we were kind of basing our information on was houses in the area, meaning like this is in the area, but I'm going on our block, more or less.
Okay.
Okay.
But that'll be part of your presentation, sir.
Okay,
But do you
sorry.
no, that's fine. Do you have questions of what the assessor has just presented?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Whitman?
Did you visit the home?
No, sir.
So you've not seen the
I
inside?
haven't seen the inside.
Do you have sales history information? Sales history information?
Not in this property. Apparently it has been sold for the longest time. I have
Yeah.
no sale history on this.
What about assessment history information?
Well, keep in mind that assessment of property is not something I place any emphasis on, so I would not have that either.
Okay.
Here anyways. Let me just see if I do have anything at all. No, I don't. Let me check my front page here. Yes, I do. Okay. Again, because you asked the question, I'll tell you. 2014, we had a $324,000 assessment. 2016 was 356. 2018 was 361, and 2020 is 380. And because you've asked the question, and because I'm looking at this, perhaps I can tell you my way of thinking. you know, when I was looking at it between 361 and 380, I chose not to do much more than be able to make a presentation based on what it is here. Maybe not the best way of doing it, but because I don't have knowledge of the inside of the house and that type of thing, I so choose to leave it like that because it was within that few percent of what properties that are similar to this would be selling for.
May I just clarify then?
Yeah.
So 2014, 256,
224.
224, okay. 2016
256,
and 2018,
261, and 2018, 390. And to that point, if I may say this, the reason why you see from 24 to 56, because we're looking at 2012, 2012 market value to 2014, and even in those years it was, demand was a little higher. Different cycles, when based on demand and so on and everything else, the values go up differently. So it's not going to be the same thing over and over again. Between 2016 and 2018, we saw that in that area, prices did not go up quite as much based on market evidence. And between 2018 and today, we saw that the same area actually has gone up even a little bit higher. And that's why you get a smaller amount between 16 and 18 and a higher amount between 18 and 20 because of...
and that's what I'm trying to clarify. 2018 to 2020, you went from 261 to 380. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
My memory stores more information on that. I think that the between 2016 and 2018 was just about 1% in Fort Erie, and all this and this past cycle, 6.96% is what we had.
No, I have no questions for you.
Okay. Do you have, on your comparisons 1 through 4, do you have the MLS, do you have MLS listings on those?
If I had the MLS,
Listings on your comparable properties
um,
with descriptions?
no, I don't have the MLS listings on these properties. As I'm looking in my file, Madam Chair, I see that the property, this property,
Yes.
I have a very old listing in 1997. This is very irrelevant, but because
It's
of
irrelevant,
the,
yes.
this is relevant,
That's
you
fine.
know.
What was the percentage increase in this area? The percentage increase in this area?
6.96 between 2016, between 2016 and up to 2018.
Okay. And I'm sorry, what was the assessment in 2016?
$361,000.
361.
Oh, 361?
No, that was for 2018.
But that's,
20
Oh, beg your pardon, 2016 was 356.
356, thank you.
so 356 and 361. I'm sorry, I understood you to say 256 and
No,
261.
no, 356.
Okay.
Okay, that's,
But-
thank you.
Okay.
So 2014 to 2016 was 224?
No,
Two-
324.
Ah, okay. Thank you, good clarification.
Thank you. If you'd like to give us your presentation, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm really new to this.
No worries.
I guess what we were looking at was the surrounding area, the houses on our block. Try to compare prices. For instance, the house that's next door to us is selling, and they're asking 158, I believe, or sorry, 350. I'm just trying to get a comparison with, I know it's bungalow to different styles of houses built and whatever, but I know they're not selling quite as high as what people think they are. And some of the houses on the streets, such as Chancellor, they're going for around 336, 340 in that area. I guess that's about all I can say. It's just
This is a current sale that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so your assessment is based on selling price prior to April of 2018?
Right.
It's always 2 years behind. So that sale, whatever that may be, will be, you could use that as evidence in your next hearing.
Okay.
So, anyway, questions?
No question. I would like to ask Ms. Harrison to just leave with him a copy of that assessment thing. I don't know, maybe about. Yes, please do, and the rest of them, because he's here for the first time. They're not quite sure about the assessment and what kind of information they should bring.
Did you have questions?
No, I don't
No?
have questions.
Mr. Reaper?
Mhm. How long have you owned the home, sir?
We bought it in,
1997.
no, we bought it in September '98, right?
And what did you pay at that time?
131.
131. And have you done upgrades to the home?
We've had to replace our deck. It was rotted out, so we had to replace that.
What about flooring?
We've done a
Aesthetics?
little bit. Living room, put hardwood there.
Kitchen?
Nothing yet.
Nothing? Bathrooms?
No.
Roof?
Shingles.
Furnace?
No.
Any infrastructure improvements?
The basement has some cracks in the floor. Other than that,
But you haven't done anything?
I haven't done anything
Okay.
yet.
No, that'll do for me.
Thank you.
You don't have any sales that are 2 years old, basically is what
No.
we're trying to get at, okay. And the new one that you're talking about, the 358, that's asking? That didn't sell?
Yes.
Um,
They've actually just dropped their price from 368 to 350.
Okay, those are my questions, thank you.
And sir, what figure are you looking for then?
I was
If you're
trying to think around 370.
okay, leave it with us, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
We're just gonna take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
And I would like to call this hearing back to order, and the next item on the docket is 103, 103 Cedar Glen.
Would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm without? Could you please state your name? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And do you have any evidence?
Yes.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, in respect to the subject property on 103 Cedar Glen Road, with the roll number 03066919900 in White Ridge. So one-story home built in 1998, 1,225 square feet with a finished basement, for 723 square feet of lot size. And I see there is a commercial adjacent, it has commercial influence of some sort. And I should point out, even before the question is asked, does it make a difference? I would say yes, it does. It's taken care of marginally in the office when they do your calibration. It's being recorded there and it's being through some reconciliation process. Adjustment is done for that. $415,000 is the assessment, and I believe from the records I have here, it's an override from what it was before, I think 424, and it was adjusted a little bit for when it was done, site specific, one of the assessors that have done this earlier. So, okay, all right. There was an attempt done, I believe, to have this reconciled at $415,000 for one of the assessors in the office. However, it's not accepted, and therefore we hear. Okay. For the four compounds that I have here, let's go for them one at a time. 82 Meadowbank Road, built in 1993. It looks like there is a little bit of upgrade in this property from 1993 to 1998. Keep in mind that the 1998 comparable against a 1998 subject property would be calibrated as the same value. Anyways, this property, comparable number one, is $436,000 when it was done through the mass appraisal to determine, pardon me, through the sale, for the time adjusted sale price. And $436,000 would be the comparable for something that is similar to that of the subject. Comparable number 247 Cloverwood Road, single family home built in 2001, 3 years newer, about the same size. 3,951 square feet would be the size of the lot, and it looks like it has a commercial influence, $434,000 for this one. Comparable number 3 on 14 Sandown Point, built in 1996, single family home, a little bit larger by 100 square feet, actually less than 100 square feet. Probably 75 square feet difference. 4,900 square feet size of the lot, which is virtually the same. $334,000 is the time adjusted sale price for comparable number 3. And comparable number 4, built in 1997, one-story home, a little larger. It is 1,385 square feet. $433,400 for this comparable number 4. We're looking at all these properties. They certainly support the value of $415,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of the assessor, of what he's just presented?
I do a lot. Good morning, fellow citizens, assessor, board members, chairperson, and secretary. I have a few questions to you. And first, why you choose just 2016 sales year for comparison?
Why we choose?
Yeah, there was no sales in 2017 or 18.
Okay. What we attempt to do here in trying to determine the value, we prefer to get properties, all of them, based on the reference date, which is April 1st, 2018. So what's never going to happen is that to get all the sale in March or April 1st, 2011, I go to a point where we say if all the properties were sold on April 1st, on the 1st of April, there wouldn't be any assessor, any appraiser, no realtor, no nothing, because all properties sold in one bid. All right, that said, we want the properties as close as possible. So when we get the properties are 16 and in this case the first one is 17, which is closer to that of the April 1st, 2018, there's going to be a time adjustment.
But was it not that in 2017 and 18 market was a bit flat for properties?
I'm sorry, what your question is? Oh, would you speak close into or bring the mic up closer?
I think it was done because in 2017 and 18 market was a bit flat for properties. And do you have percentage of increase in my area?
Yes, there is going to be a percentage increase in your area as well, but let's see, that would be 6.96%.
So this is 6.94% is for like all properties, two-story properties.
That's an average. It's based on average on
Average,
that region.
okay. Just a few weeks ago, there was a Royal LePage a report for increase of properties in Winnipeg, and like just the average, it was 6, I guess, from the last year. But dividing by properties, like 2 stories, 8, bungalow or 1 story, 0.2. So like this increase doesn't work well as for me. Also, yesterday I was reviewing other assessments in my area, and I found that a few of them they have.
Excuse me, sir, that's part of your presentation.
No, it's a question. I found that some of them they have land influence, and there was a hydro transformator, and I'm just asking why I don't have this on my assessment as well, because I have the same hydro transformator on my property.
Well, you have one with the green box and so on. There's no market evidence to determine what people are going to pay for the difference for that. And so as a result, we make it a point, and I think the panel knows that too. We do not typically make any adjustment for a property that has one of those on your lot as opposed to one that doesn't have it.
Okay, that's good to know. And can you tell me how you, like every year you calculate these estimates based on previous estimate or no? Or it's every year, few thousand, I don't know how many houses we have, you calculate for each of them?
We typically use about 3,600 to 3,900 of nearly, about 36,000 to about 40,000 properties on each assessment cycle. To determine the values out of these 36 to 40,000, we have 10 regions. Each region, depending on how many properties are sold in that particular region, we're going to form a model. And that model there is, you're going to pick the properties that are highly similar to, say, take yours for example. When we were to calibrate and determine the value, only the properties that are highly similar to yours that have been sold would be used to determine the value of yours.
So there is no influence from the previous assessment?
No, has no influence at all whatsoever.
Okay, and you said that like you already, like your department already tried, it's probably a pretty hard job for you today to take blame for all your department. But you said that there was trying to reassess my property value, and especially from 424 to 415. So I don't think so, because I was sent a message for this 415 after I applied to Board of Revision. And do you know what comment was put when my value was decreased from 440 to 424?
No, I can only say, Madam Chair, I can only say that what I happen to know, because sometimes when we get a chance we look at it, it was, there was something that scanned other things that are in the computer that I don't have access to at this point in time, but it does show here that it was agreed to rather, we have a $414,000 through a 15-1 agreement, so it was not accepted. It can be a 15-1 agreement, as you know, I can't be in agreement if it was not accepted. It was perhaps started in discussion that it should be reduced. I have notes whereby when I can go in the computer and see the value that's being calibrated at $400 and some $1,000, and then another section would be, we would have a choice to override that value. Similarly, whatever values we have on the property, when you make a decision here, and that value is lower or higher, most times it's lower, when we make a value to lower your value, we have to override it. So we have that capability to override these values. So yes, the evidence I don't have here, but suggests that it was a little higher, but that's irrelevant. What's relevant here is $415,000 as the assessment.
So last question, you mentioned that there is commercial adjustment, and I especially called about this one, and I was told from your department that there is no influence on price, and you just telling me there is.
Well, let me explain this. I'm not putting any agent down. I'm not saying I'm making comparison with agent, but I'm telling you what I know over time. There's things that I don't know before that I know today. I investigated that. I asked the modelers how they actually do it, and basically it would be like whether it be 0.00 something that you can actually put in the computer on a specific home, that when the computer is able to calibrate the property, it's going to pick it up, and therefore it's going to have a slight value that is lower. Now, I asked the panel to accept that. I ask you to accept that. If you don't want to, I can't make you do it, but that's how it's being done. So, and the reason that you have it here is for that purpose. If it made no difference, then you would not have it.
Okay. So I have no other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
Did you visit the home?
No, I didn't.
You did, so you aren't able to comment on the interior. You're not able to comment on the interior shape, this 11-year-old home.
No, I'm not able to.
It's not 11, I think it's 21.
I beg your pardon? Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
the applicant.
I'm sorry
Sorry,
for
it's,
it.
I'm asking questions just now. Lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
It may come
You
back
get
to
it
me.
back.
Yeah.
Ms. Gifford?
In doing your evaluation for the 2018 assessment, what's the, it's 2016 sales that you use, right? Am I correct?
2016
16?
sales?
Yeah.
Yes, but you have what you see here in my brief is the first comparable was sold in 2017. The second one is 2016, and the last two are also 2016. You notice that there are different months as well.
None closer to the subject property? In location? Like,
They're all in White Ridge.
but none closer to,
I
where
believe
the
you have a
subject
map
property
there.
is?
I believe you have a map.
I mean, comp 2 is close, yes, but then when you're going over to comp 4 and comp 3, there are none in the Cedar Glen area road? That's what I'm asking. Nothing with Brady
Nothing
Brady
there?
Road frontage?
The frontage, did you say?
Yes.
Well, we have a lot size, and the lot size, as long as these properties are, and I don't know that they are or are not pie shape or reverse pie or any such thing, assuming that these properties are regular properties, regular lot size, then a 47 square feet, 47 square feet lot would be plus or minus 45 foot frontage, if that is your
Oh,
question.
no, that wasn't my question. I'm saying, the subject property, is it backing onto Brady Road or is it fronting onto Brady Road?
I don't have the map myself.
Okay,
If
obviously
I
it's
can
not
see the map, I can
fronting onto
maybe
Brady
make
Road.
some kind of a judgment.
Okay, no,
May I
it's
have a
okay.
look at that quickly
Yeah.
so that I can answer the question?
No, never mind. Okay, if it's got the Cedar Glen Road address, it's fronting onto Cedar, yeah. Okay, but just, there weren't any within the Cedar Glen Road area, the Royal Oak or a little more into the
I'm sorry, I didn't
development?
hear your question.
These were all the sales, these are the best location sales you could find for the time period that we're dealing with, right?
Yes, these 4 sales.
Okay. Nothing within the immediate development area in here?
I'm sure they are. But these are, when we try
These
to
are what you're
determine,
considering the most comparable.
pardon me?
These are the ones that you're considering the most comparable,
Yes,
and for location also, right?
right.
Okay, that's my question,
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Ramswack, you have the assessment on this property at 415,000,
Uh-huh.
and your four comparables, just on average, are 20,000 more.
Maybe, yeah, possibly. Yeah.
So is this taking into consideration the commercial adjacent? Is that what the difference is? It's the 20,000 approximately, it's taking into consideration the commercial adjacent on this property?
I doubt it. You wouldn't take $20,000 for commercial adjustment, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I said it's marginal. It's could be a couple or more $1,000. It's not really a great deal from what I have checked out and known and so on. It's a very small amount, but we do take that into consideration. To give an example, Madam Chair, between a corner lot and one that is interior lot, you don't want to know that.
No, and I'm good with your answer. I understand. Thank
Okay.
you. Sir, let's hear your presentation.
Good. I will present today my arguments on why I think that the assessed value of my house is higher than its actual value, and I will explain my frustration with assessment and taxation department and services which it provides, or better to say it does not. First of all, let's go to page number 3. Go to page number 3 and review a neighborhood where I live. I want to describe a neighborhood. Whitechurch is a residential subdivision in southwest of the city, as you can see. It's corner of the city, and my street is located on the edge of Whitechurch. It means on the edge of Winnipeg. And there are a couple streets on the map. They are blue. It's the most expensive area of Whitechurch. I will turn back like later in my presentation about those areas. And there are, let's turn next page. And on the next page, I'm explaining about factors. They are significant factors which impact value of my house in the part of Whitechurch where my house is located. And on the map, it's colored green rectangle or square. And the main disadvantage is being in very close proximity to a railroad. It's a black line, which actually separates my area from rest of the Whitechurch and close any access from or to this area if train is crossing. This is active railroad. I can hear trains like every day, a few times per day, night. And another next factor is that my house is located on Brady Road, and it's not facing, but backyard is Brady Road. And Brady Road is famous for Brady Road landfill, and actually it scares potential buyers, which lower market value of my house. Also, this road has limit of 70 km/h. It's just one road in Whitechurch which has this high limit. So it means that it increases noise from the traffic on the road compared to other streets in Whitechurch. And recent commercial construction, you can see the picture. Actually, this is, and on the map it's Brown Square. This construction made my house even more attractive in quotes for buyers. And my backyard facing this, it's a picture from my backyard, and I'll quote from their website. It's Winnipeg's largest outdoor play yard for dogs. I like pets, but I'm sure that barking of them during my open house won't increase value of my house or my property. All those little details make a great influence on house pricing in my area, especially on my street, on my edge street, and which explains why we cannot compare my house value to other houses in the middle of Whitechurch or somewhere else. As a result, to make a fair estimation of the house value, we need to compare market values of similar houses on my street or in close proximity. So we can go to the next page where I collected all sales data from 2014 that we find. They are provided with on public website, but also I compare those values with city sales books, so they are correct. And as you can see, there are like 2018, it was like pretty high, high year for high prices during this year, but in 2017 prices went down a little bit, or I would say they stay flat. And but even though you can see that all sales were less than 390 for those years, and on the same page but a bit slower, there are recent sales reviews. So I just seen them on Remax websites. So those two houses were sold, and I just know listed price. I'm pretty sure that they sold like even less, because for example, house with 27 Cedar Glen Road, a two-story house, was selling for a year or so. So I'm sure they went down. And now when we turn page, I just checked Realtor websites the last week, and for comparison, just like to see how unfair, in my opinion, is assessment. Hackwood Gate, 59 Hackwood Gate, it's actually housed in the same area with Cloverwood is, and this house is listed 405, well, almost, but estimated value is 416, which is definitely not market value. But for comparison, if we go to this most expensive street, we can see 168 Vanderbilt, and house is right now listed 574, but estimated value is 537. So of course somebody need to pay those taxes for that. And there is a assessed value, like there is a map, current map from assessment department website, and you can see the street with the expensive values, and as you can see, there is one house, 3 Vanderbilt, which is like even lower, assessed lower than my house. I would definitely swap my house with this neighbor as soon as he paid the difference. And we can go to the next page, and it's a description of my house with pictures. I own a standard bungalow with carpet flooring, 3 bedrooms, 1 like kind of in a basement, 2.5 bathrooms. I have not done any renovation from the time, or major improvements from the time I owned the house. It's almost 10 years, but I do proper maintenance and care. I have finished a basement, but unfortunately, people who did this, as you can see, there is sales history. So they bought house in 2018 for $330, installed laminate. They did it totally wrong. Laminate installed from wall to wall. It means that every spring my laminate is baby, because I need to cut 1 inch from each side of wall. It's not done yet. It's one of my future projects. And yeah. Next one is if you turn page 8, I know that you are not considering assessed values, but as you can see from this list, it's a list from assessment website. My house, it's colored in blue, is the most expensive house on the street. Like, I don't know why. It's definitely not most expensive, and as you can see, there are just few houses colored in green that have smaller living areas than mine. Even 2-story house, which is the biggest on our street, actually it's all houses which are on Cedar Glen, but they are facing Brady Road. Not facing, back in Brady Road. So 2-story, even 2-story assessed like much lower there are a couple houses which are assessed pretty close, but if you can see land size, it's just enormous. It's twice the regular size in Winnipeg. So we can move back to the last page, on to the last page, and in my opinion, for comparison, I choose like neighbor's house, or I took the data from sales data which I presented to you, and average based on sales data, average is 390 in my opinion in this small area, because of different factors. So to be fair to my neighbor, I calculated based on assessment, and I think that my house should cost like 394, but I had of course adjustment with I have beautiful garden, and I think my value of the house should be 404,000 Canadian dollars. Thank you for listening to my arguments, and I hope I provide the assessed value of my house is not more than value I stated, and based on real values, recent sales, and location of my house.
Thank you. Questions?
Just to recap, did you say that you had no idea that your property was assessed at $424,000?
What? No, what do you mean? I can tell you the story. What was that? I received first notice that my property is assessed at $440.
400 how much?
440.
440, okay.
So I was just very surprised. It's as easy to say. Of course, I called the assessment department, and a lady who responded said that like, what do you want? You have 6% increase in your area, and your previous assessment was 408. So we cannot go anywhere like lower, higher, which is contradicts your statements that you are not looking at previous values. And she asked me, what value do you want? And because I was not very familiar with the process, I said, oh, should I tell you the value in 2 years, because it's 2020 assessment? And she said, like, kind of. So in my opinion, in 2 years, maybe my house will be 420. But it's not the way we should take care of assessment, because it should be value of my house on 2018. So she readjusted to 424, and when I opened this readjustment, it was okay. But when I opened the map on my street, I've seen that my house is valued the most expensive house on the street, which is not. So I called second time and explained my frustration, and employee of assessment department said that we cannot change the value 424. You should go to Board of Revision. What I did, and next day I submitted my application to Board of Revision. I received a message, oh, let's lower your value for 15. And the second time when I called, I said, what, like, why you lower it to 424? And employee said that there is a comment that assessor had a feeling that my house should be less. Like, I don't know when we started taking consideration feelings about assessing values and real. It depends on how much I pay properties and so on.
Okay, I didn't want to have much detail, so the town doesn't want that. The question was that it was the 424 that at first we sort of disputed. It was always 450. We're gonna move on,
Okay.
all right? Okay. So the properties that you have here, and you're basing many of these, how many of these properties on page 8 are assessed values? Are they
Page 8
actually
is
sold?
fully assessed values.
Hmm?
Page 8 is just copy from your apartment,
And you're
from
all
your
ass-
website.
They're not sales, they're assessment,
They're
right?
not sale.
Okay, I'm sure you want to take a note of that, I'm not going to elaborate.
Yeah.
Um, Again, page 5 of your evidence.
Okay.
I see you have 4 recent sales review 2019. Are those properties sold in 2019? Or what
Yes,
were they?
those two, they are sold in 2019. I don't have any.
Okay, that's fine,
2019.
that's fine, just, the panel will take a note of the 2019 sales. And 18 Cedar Glen, 384, do you know when that was sold? And what other details you have on it?
It could be like in winter or spring-ish,
Of which year?
18 or 19, so I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, okay. I'm sure you want to take a note of that, and even tax size adjustment, 160 square feet, that kind of thing, you know. And then we have 27 Cedar Glen, you know when that was sold?
It was recently, like months or 2 ago.
When was that?
Months or 2 ago,
A
it
month
means
ago.
it May or June.
2019?
Yeah.
So Madam Chair, once again, you take a note that there were some post-reference here. I think in the interest of timing and everything else, Madam Chair, I presented my evidence, he presented his. I'd ask that you conform for your 2015.
Yep, we're gonna finish asking
Of course.
questions, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Whitbread?
Mhm. You indicated there's a fence between your property and Brady Road.
Sorry?
There is a fence between your property and Brady
Yeah,
Road.
correct.
How tall is that fence?
Probably like a SME at 6 feet.
6 feet?
Yeah.
And was it there when you bought the property?
Yes, correct.
So it's one of those big established fences all along the west edge, southwest edge of White Ridge, is it?
I wouldn't say it's big, but
Well, we're seeing them around the city now. It's part of the residential build-up. Is that the kind of fence, or
I
did you
cannot
build it?
answer this because I don't know what kind of fence.
Okay.
No, I didn't build the fence.
Okay.
There was a fence, but it's not the fence which is on picture. On the picture is a bit bigger fence.
Oh, sorry. I thought the picture was the fence at the back of your property.
No. You can see there is road. It's a picture from the back of my property.
Yeah.
From my fence.
Yeah.
And this is another fence to that facility, or like to municipality of McDonald.
Okay, I'm missing something
Yeah,
there.
I'm sorry for
No.
confusion. If you open picture, it's on page 4.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the part of road, it's Brady Road. And after that there is fence it's a bigger fence than mine. It's a fence for municipality of McDonald, and after that there is a pet facility.
So, backing up from that.
Yeah, I
photo-
have fence, but it's not like this, but it's fence, I guess it's normal
Okay,
fence.
okay, so there's a fence on either side of Brady Road.
Yeah, correct.
It's a gravel road,
No,
asphalt?
on my part it's asphalt, and it's
Okay.
gravel like far from Cedar Glen.
Okay, I'm trying to think of the noise that would flow up
The
between the
noise is
fence.
pretty high because it's edge of White Ridge. White Ridge is I would say young community. There are a lot of teenagers, so if it's 70 km per hour, it's like 90, 100 behind my.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, back to the Brady Road. The view of this picture here, with the pet resort and spa, what side of Brady Road is that on?
It's in municipality of McDonald.
And you are, okay, so you're on, it's on the opposite side of Brady Road,
Yep.
it's not adjacent to your property?
Yeah.
Okay. So the only other fence besides this, behind your property is the one that you built?
No, I didn't build a fence. There was.
Is it a contiguous
Yeah, it's continuous.
built fence right
fence
up?
for all Cedar Glen, I guess.
Okay, and how high would that be?
6 feet. I think.
What's it made of, do you know? Is it
Wood.
wood? Okay. And the sales that you're referring to on page 5,
Okay.
the Cedar Glen ones, are those sales or listings?
They are sales, so I took data from there's a website which provide open data for sales, but I compared those sales with, unfortunately, we have just 2 books available, sales book available on our city websites, and those sales are 2016, 17, 18, and 2014, 15. So yeah, those I compared correctly.
So you got those off the city website?
Yeah, city sales book they have. So those are actual sales.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thanks.
When was the pet resort and spa built?
This year, or is it last year? Like, kind of for the last year.
Okay. And is this your first time before the board?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And so 2018, your assessment was at 408.
Yes, and it was totally wrong. Unfortunately, I was not able to call, like I didn't know that I need to call assessment department all the time to adjust my value. I was not able to call because my wife proceeded through surgical, went through surgical procedures, especially in sprint, when I received this 408. So this totally wrong 408 assessment. All other values were 30,000 lower. So there was no one house on Cedar Glen with more than 400, and only mine was assessed at 408 because I didn't call our department.
Okay. On page 5, that you've got your sales for Cedar Glen, number 39 through 59.
Yeah.
There's no information in regards to the homes. Is
Yeah.
it 2-story, 1-story, the size?
Yeah, there is no
Yeah, just for future, that's
okay.
just, if you're gonna have a comparison.
Yeah, we can find some of them with from the page number, I guess, which one, 8. There are some of them, for example, 59 is 1 story, 96, and so on. But yeah, you are correct, there's no.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good presentation. Thank you for coming. Leave it with us.
Thank you. So I just can go.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. And 136 Bridgeland Drive.
Did you want to swear in on the Bible or affirm without? Could you state your name, please? And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm without? Do you affirm, or could you please state your name? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And do you have evidence?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And whenever you're ready, Mr. Ramswick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, 136 Bridgeland Drive South with the roll number 0309 149 1300 in Bridgewater Forest. It's a 2-story single family. It was built in 2010, 1,856 square feet, unfinished basement, 5,439 square feet lot. As for land influence, it's on the bus route, medium traffic. $460,000 is assessed value of the home. How does it compare with the selling price, the adjusted selling price of the 4 comparables that I have here? We will examine that now. First comparable, 192 Bridgeland Drive, in the same location, 2-story, built the same year. 180 square feet smaller than that of the subject property. And it is $479,000. Comparable number 1 is already suggesting that when we make a slight adjustment for or enough or adequate adjustment in terms of size for the property or the house itself, it would definitely support that of the subject property. And the comparable number 1 being on the same side of the street as well, in the same location on the same street. Comparable number 2, 94 Bridgeland. This is Bridgeland Drive North, if it looks like here. 2-story built in 2008. It is 100 square feet larger than that of the subject property. Lot size slightly smaller by 1,000 square feet. It is $438,900 for time adjustment. And comparable number 3, again on Bridgeland Drive North, 279 is the address. 2-story built in 2011, 1,766 square feet with a finished basement. This property is, excuse me, this is the only one that has a rec room, and the rec room we have noted here is 446 square feet from that you might want to take for your record. The lot size is 1,400 square feet smaller. $444,000 is the assessment or time adjusted sale price rather. And comparable number 4 and 39 Maidstone Bay, built in 2012. 1,949 square feet, so it's about 100 square feet smaller. There's a walkway adjacent to the property. $485,000 is time adjustment. Now, I also wanted to look at see what happened to the last assessment, not that compare assessment, but just for your record. It looks like it was $423,000 for 2018-19, and that's the information I have. That's $423,000. That's an increase of $37,000. That may seem high. However, looking at the percentage increase as an average in the area at 6.96, the percentage increase on this home is 874%, pardon me, 8.74%, which is 2.5% to almost 3% higher. Let me just double check here. 6.967%. Yeah, less than 2% difference, or less than 2% higher. I didn't make a recommendation in it. I know that I'm giving you those information so that together you will find your own conclusion. So we're looking at the $438,000 as a low to $485,000 as a high. And you're seeing that the best comparison here is comparable number 1 on the same side of the street on Bridgeland Drive South, built the same year and slightly smaller at $457. On that basis, I couldn't make a recommendation to have it any lower.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have questions?
Yes. So, first of all, for comparable property number 3, the finished basement, is that part of the living area?
Never part of the living
So
area.
that's not taken account into the living area?
No, but in terms of value, it's what contributes
Yeah.
to value. So there is a dollar value that you put market value. It's never cost how much to cost to build or any such thing, or it's going to market is going to pay for 546 square feet.
So but the additional space provided by the furnished basement does not contribute to the total living area.
Not to the living area, no.
Yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Were you in the subject house? Sorry, were you in the subject house?
No,
No.
I'm sure.
Did you do you weren't in any of the comparisons?
No,
Did you do a drive-by?
no, I'm sure.
Do you have an MLS listing?
No, I guess, no. This property built in 2010, was sold for 2012. I don't know if there's a second owner either, I don't know that.
Okay.
Don't have that here.
Okay. That's all my questions, thank you. If you'd like to give us your presentation?
So, hello everyone. I'd like to thank you today for your time. So, I am looking for a deduction in my 2020 assessment amount for 136 Bridgeland Drive South in Bridgewater Forest. So, to support my case, I found four comparable properties in the same neighborhood area, Bridgewater Forest, and so we can start with page number 5, 79 Park Valley Road. So this home, like mine, is located in Bridgewater Forest. It is about, there is one block between our property and their property, and so it is not too far away. This property is a 2 one-story, so my understanding of it is it's a combination. It's not a fully 2-story unit, but however, the total living area is almost equal to my house, which is 1,856 square feet. So, and furthermore, just like my house, it has a no finished basement. It has no fireplace, attached garage, no pool, and also air conditioning. So, this house was built in 2014, so it's 4 years newer than my house. Hey, Bridgewater Forest is one of the newer areas in the city, so I believe this does make quite a difference. So this house is evaluated. The time-adjusted sale price is $446,800. So there is about a $15,000 price gap, and I believe these two houses are comparable in many ways. So it does provide evidence for a decrease in our total assessment amount. Continuing on, just not too far from the first house, we have 67 Park Valley Road. So yes. So the sale data of this house also supports my appeal. When compared to my property, this house is similar in many ways. Although it has a smaller livable area at 1,628 square feet, I believe it can be offset by the value of its vast total land area. It also has a finished basement and a large collection of 8 rooms. So the time-adjusted sale price for this house is only $432,600. So that is almost $30,000 more than my house. So so after taking into account all the additional features this house has, I believe it does make a strong case for deduction. Once again, deduction from the $460,000 of my 2020 assessment amount. The next house I would like to talk about is 307 Oakland Road. So this is a property located at the edge of Bridgewater Forest, quite close to Bridgewater Center and off Kennison Highway. It does have a significant, well, it does have a larger total living area at 1,909 square feet. It is 2 stories. It has a finished. It is 2 stories, has a basement, and built in 2016. In the context of Bridgewater Forest, it is a lot newer than our house. Also, the assessed land area is also larger than ours, and the time-adjusted sale price for this one is only $450,800. So once again, I believe this warrants a decrease for my estimates. And the last example I have is 67 Apple Tree Crescent. So this house also once again has a significantly larger livable area, 2,286 square feet compared to mine, 1,856 square feet. It has a slightly larger land area as well, at 5,589 to mine, 5,439 square feet. So this house is 3 years newer than my property and has valuable additions such as a fireplace. Both houses have 2 stories, 7-room, unfinished basement, attached garage, air conditioning, and no pool. Despite being comparable or better in almost every category for the assessment, the time-adjusted sale price for 67 Apple Tree Crescent is still only at $556,300. So once again, I believe that the estimate for 136 Bridgeland Drive, due to all the evidence I've given, is it is overinflated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions? No questions?
No.
Okay. Mr. McRae?
You've purchased the homes and owned the home since 2012.
Yes.
Have you made any improvements in the home since then?
Yes, we finished the fence. There was no fence at the time of purchase, and we built a small low deck, and that was in 2016, so which should be included in the previous assessment.
Okay. Internally, anything?
No renovations or modification, and any sort of modernizations I have.
Okay. You express your disagreement with the number 460,000, but what would you think the right number is then?
So I believe a reasonable amount taking into account of inflation and the general trend of rising house prices, something closer to 445,000 will be more reasonable in my opinion.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Gifford?
Yes, the sales you have here, 79 Park Valley Road, et cetera, do you have a sale date?
Yes, I just have to check my sale book, just one moment. So the 79 Park Valley is sold in July 2016. Sorry. 79 is sold in January 2017.
And what about the 67 Park Valley and then the Oaklawn?
67 Park Valley is July 2016, and Oaklawn is
I'm sorry,
May.
that was 16? 2016?
2016, yes. And the Oaklawn is May 2016.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Apple Tree Crescent, sorry.
Oh, yes.
What date was that? So,
June 2017.
June 17?
Yes.
All right, thank you. That's my questions.
I'm just curious, you've given 4 properties here with sale dates, et cetera. Because the assessor has given 3 properties that have sold on Bridgeland. And you chose to ignore those sales?
Yes, I understand. The reason mainly because I believe, while I do agree 192 Bridgeland Drive South, it is a good comparison. The other two, they are on Bridgeland Drive North, and the layout of the house is considerably different because their garage is in the back, mine is in the front, so it does affect the overall aesthetic of the building, as well as how its internal space is utilized and organized. So it does make a difference, I believe. So I chose houses that have similar layouts to mine, and I believe that it better represents my case.
Okay.
Mhm.
But you think comparison number one is a good property to use?
Yes, however, there I do have a few rebuttals for it. So my house is located at the edge of the block, so it's at the most eastern house on the block. So it is a victim of strong south and northwest prevailing wind. So during the winter, a lot of snow will blow into our driveway, which makes it very difficult. And sand and stone, it's also a factor that should be accounted into. Furthermore, since it is near the entrance of the block, there is significant traffic happening there. So once again, it is an inconvenience. And if we take a look at the map here once again, you can see there is a curve and a protrusion from the shape of the lot. It's not a rectangle. However, that added space, it elongates my driveway. So once again, makes cleaning and also mowing the lawn, it adds more work while not providing any benefits. So this gives my property a larger total land area without providing any added benefits, and not making it any more spacious than any of my neighbors. So I believe, although the total land area is higher, it should not be taken into full account, and this factor should be considered.
I can appreciate that those may be inconveniences to you, but they're not considered within the assessment of the house at all.
But however, that part of the land is not as valuable, for example, if we put it to the back of the house.
Yeah,
Okay.
not, anyway, thank you. That's all my questions, and leave it with us. Thank you for coming.
Oh, and I just have a few more things to add before I go. Is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
So, yes, and so living inside the house, there are also a few experiences I would like to point out that might that might better support my case. So, first of all, there are a few repairs going on. There is a roof. There are repairs on the roof where the shingles have fallen off. So
That's just considered general maintenance?
yes, that is general maintenance, but it does, so it's a relatively new house, so it is a testament to perhaps the subpar quality of the roof. So one part of it might break, maybe another part of it later on at another date. So furthermore, due to the slope of the land, water flows towards the house on its south side from the backyard. So there is a pooling up, and that has caused the water to leak through the window installation inside of the house, and that has soaked the insulation layer. So it negatively affected the insulated property of the basement. So those are two repairs that needs to be done but have not been done yet. So I believe this also needs to be taken into consideration. And furthermore, there's one puncture in the wall on the first floor, and given the orientation of the house also does not facilitate natural lighting. So the first floor will usually be too dark, since his living room and majority of his rooms their windows facing north, and being in the corner is surrounded by houses on almost all four sides. So
Yeah, sorry, sir, that does not affect the value of
it
your
doesn't
property.
affect the value.
No.
Okay, I
Thank you.
understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
hearing today, or we just continue finish?
No, we'll continue. We have to finish the docket, yes?
Okay, so I gotta move, three more. Yeah.
80 Turnstone Tear. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna proceed to the next person.
Sure,
But go
please.
ahead and
Yeah.
move your vehicle. I don't want you to get a ticket. 1125 Lee Boulevard.
Would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm with us? Could you please state your name?
Give me a chance.
Do you affirm to tell the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth? And would you like to swear in or affirm with us? Affirm without the Bible. Could you please state your name?
My name is Su Kwan Yu, and I'm the authorized person by his mother. His mother is also on the title, but she just go back to China, so she write this authorized form to ask me to help his son together. So.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah, I will tell the truth. Thank you.
And do you have any evidence?
Yes.
Just before we begin, see on the brief that the city has offered a recommendation to $888,000. Are you accepting that? Are you aware of it? Of the reduction?
Yes, we got a reply from the assessor by call probably 2 days ago, and we were thinking,
Do you accept that number or no?
no, we didn't accept it.
Okay,
That's why we're
and then
here.
we'll proceed.
That's why we're here. I
Yeah.
did speak with you. Did I speak with you or
Yes.
I did?
Mhm.
Okay, anyways. It was a civil conversation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, as it was intended to be anyways. Okay. 1125 Lee Boulevard, rule number 0309156820. In Fairfield Park. It's a two-story single-family home, was built in 2013, and it is 3,160 square feet with a finished basement. 5,947 square feet is the lot size, and there is some commercial influence there. $908,000 is assessed value. I can make a recommendation for $880,000, 888, which, as you know, is not accepted. So, it's the best I could have done. Couldn't go any lower than that. $888,000 now is what we're sort of defending. For problem number 1, 38 Rockville Street in Fairfield Park, built in 2007, about the same size of house, 2,944 square feet. It has a walkout basement, and there's some development in the basement as well. It's on a retention pond, granted that we have a superior location for the retention pond, and there $760,000 is the time adjusted sale price on this property. Considerably lower than that as subject property, considering that it's on a retention pond. I know it's gonna get a bit confusing when you look at these values. Comparable number 2 then, on 64 Raphael Street, again in Fairfield Park, 2-story, built in 2007, 2,860 square feet on a walkout basement here. It's got a rec room on lot size that is larger than that of subject property, and again on retention pond, and again under $800,000 as the time adjusted sale price. 1121 Colby Avenue is the third comparable on Fairfield Park. A 2-story home built in 2007, 682 square feet. 6,147 square feet of lot size and $645,000 for this property here. And then comparable number 4, 1208 Colby Avenue in Fairfield Park, built in 2008, considerably smaller, and $589,000 for the time adjusted sale price on this one. Okay, now what else do I have here for evidence I want to give to the panel? 2015 assessment, and I know we're not dealing with assessment, we're dealing with the history of the value. That's how I like to put it. $770,000 in 2015, $873,000 in 2017, and $836,000 in 2019. Well, when I look at this here and look at what our evidence may have been presented for these values, when we start looking at a property that was sold so many years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and then we would like to think that market evidence or the history of the sale would suggest something here of quality perhaps that I don't know about, I haven't seen the property, that should maintain a value that should be considered higher than the comparables. And that's my reasoning here. That's why I couldn't make any kind of recommendation that was any lower than the $883,000 that I suggested, based on what I saw as the values over the last number of years for this property. And that's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have questions of the assessor?
Yes. When you see your just information in this page, when you just see the
Excuse me, sorry, would you mind speaking into the mic?
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello everyone. When I just see your information you just give me, and you just see the first one and the second one is the walkout basements, and also the living area is almost similar with my house. Is the close to the 3,000s, right? And also you can see the lot size is also double my house, right? It's also 10,000s. And also this last house should be also the living room, and the lot size should be similar with house, and also why is also the assessment, the price is really low than my house.
Yeah, I see that. I give that as evidence.
And also my house is really higher, and also just the first and the second one is the workout basements. Also is really nice basement for those two houses, and also the land size is really different for my house when you just give my information in here. And when you just see the second page, you can see the order address and the location. And when you just some house, just the back side should be to the lake. It's really it's nice view, and also And for my,
Sorry, are you asking a question?
yes, and also just why should be is the price is really different. That is my question.
Oh, why is it for property, why is it
Yeah,
value
well, how
different?
can I just calculate the price probability is also, you just see, also you only see the living room and the lot size, right? And how it's really this difference.
Okay, all right, let me see. I think maybe if I'm gonna rephrase this a little bit, you're asking why is this property, your property, that much higher than the rest of the other properties? Is that your, sort of your question? That is the case. The reality is that this property was sold and I wanted to bring them up. I didn't want to just leave these behind. They were there in terms of the size and the location, the square footage. They were sold for this much money. I explained that, you know, I couldn't possibly make any recommendation lower based on what was happening to yours. Is it possible? Because I've seen your property, I know it was bought brand new, obviously, when you paid for it, when you bought it. You know, when we start ignoring the values of properties that were sold a few years ago, then the question we have to ask, if we're confronted with, are we going to ignore the values of other properties also that were sold, and we can't do that. So I have to maybe consider, well, your property was sold, you bought it $850 like 6 years ago. Should I maybe think that it's worth 15% or 20% less than it was a number of years ago, when we know market evidence is just suggesting that every year prices are actually going up? It's maybe unique, and that's my reasons I've explained to the panel here. It may sound strange, and why is it I'm looking at it? If I didn't know it otherwise, it would be kind of hard. I had to see a property to come to that conclusion, to know at what kind of value that I'd want to place on it when I'm looking at these. As an appraiser, I would need to do that. Under the circumstances, I don't know that I can do any better than the 888. The panel will make that decision afterwards.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any other questions?
No.
No? Okay, it's fine. Mr. Whitbread?
I'm reading your note to reduce the assessment of 888 to better reflect the market value. Are you able to tell us?
Typically, go on, your question, I'm sorry.
Let me finish, please. Are you better able to tell us what conditions created that about a $20,000 drop in assessment?
It was a judgment call that I made. Had nothing to do with condition. I looked at the property that it was in 2017, and I gave you those numbers for a reason. In 2017, it was $873,000. Then it dropped to $806,000 the following year. And I didn't think it was fair to even go down under the $873,000, considering they paid $850 6 years ago. And that's my reasoning. Now, whether it's right, wrong, bad, good, or indifferent, it is my reasoning. It's just a judgment call.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. No, I haven't. Yeah, no, I have no questions. Right.
Thank you. So, Mr. Ramsbach, this property was built in 2013?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm assuming it was inspected then?
Well, I don't know if any inspection was done on it here. 1914 is the only information I have here, is that at some point in time the basement was to be finished by the builder. Now, if a basement is finished by the builder, I'm going to now starting to think now using that fact it was completed by the builder and not done afterwards or so. It had to be done professionally, and perhaps this was one of the reasons why the value was higher. And that's again is speculating.
Okay. So you yourself have not been in the property?
No.
No. And you don't have any dates as to when it was
It was 2014 when
Somebody was in the house in 2014?
the house was 2013 built as a year built.
Right.
And typically, a year built, I don't know if they moved here in 2014, but usually when you crash the basement, and that's the date you use as a date that it was, or the year or the date it was built. Even if it takes 6 months.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if anybody from the
City?
city was in the house, that's,
I don't have that information, it doesn't suggest that either. There are times that we don't even get to see all the properties as much as we like to.
right.
When you put it on record, they would use the blueprint and use all the information we have to determine that value. Keep in mind too, Madam Chair, and I'm sure you know this, an appraiser can actually pick up a blueprint from a builder,
Right,
that a house is not built yet, and an appraiser would have to determine the prospective value on that property, and they do that, based on other properties. So something like that we do from time to time in our office too.
what was the percentage increase from 2018 in this neighborhood?
And that would be 5.82%.
Okay, I just want to clarify, you read out previous assessments. What was the assessment for 2019? I didn't quite hear that.
2018 was $873,000.
873 for 2018.
Pardon me, beg your pardon, I'm looking,
Okay.
that's 2017. 2018 and 19 would be the same, because I have
Right.
19 here. 2019 was reduced to $836,000, which was
Sorry,
$836,000,
836?
yes,
It was reduced to 836.
36. Now why, I don't know, I don't know if I have that info. Whether
And that
it was
was,
appealed,
that was 2018.
2018 and 19, yes.
Okay,
And that was actually $14,000 less than what it was sold for in 2013. So again, you can see why I can't reduce it by 20 or 30% less than the value it was sold for. No quality and all of that.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I hadn't. The retention pond, what kind of an adjustment was made for the retention ponds in comp 1 and 2?
Well, I would definitely properties have to be consistent in value here. Values on the retention pond are going to be higher. Today's value in retention pond that is 11,000 square feet, depending on the environment, immediate environment, and how other properties are selling for. A retention pond lot 11,000 square feet, it goes to $200,000, closer to.
So
Could
that's
be
been
180,
adjusted.
could be 150. I would say between 150 and higher.
And has this sold for $730,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before any adjustments for retention pond, et cetera? You're saying that this is worth $730,000 because of
Your question on what the
including the
value would be a retention pond as a vacant lot is going to be about 150 or more.
So in other words, you are saying that the sale price of $740,000 includes $150,000 worth of location.
No, I'm not saying that.
Then what are you
I'm saying
saying?
it is including the land, but the vacant land, if you had a vacant land, it was sold, a vacant land would sell for about between $150,000 and $200,000 for vacant land on a retention pond, depending on the immediate area too. More like, let's say, Bridgewater and so on, that you have some large ones. But it's because the land and the house is used as a value, you can't separate the land from the house any longer, and you can't say that the house is 160 and let's find out what the land is. It's always
Okay,
a
on your
package.
models that you use at the city assessment, what are they saying for
No,
retention
we
pond?
we do not use the land separately, never.
No, okay. Retention pond, adjacent to a retention pond, you said in one of the other ones that you adjusted for the frontage being on the property having backing onto the retention pond.
Okay,
And this one you're not.
let me clarify that some more. If I were to do like these two properties here, the comparables on the subject, I would say that the property on the retention pond is superior to that of the subject property, and therefore I would add a value that would be different from what it is between one and the next. I think we're on the same page here. I just want to clarify it some more, that you're not putting another $150,000 on a property or deducting $150,000 from one. You're not deducting $150,000 for retention pond from that of the subject property. You might deduct the difference, but not the entire
Oh,
value.
no,
Okay.
I realize that, but
Mhm.
you're still saying that that's the property with retention pond sold for $740,000, right?
Yeah, yes, that's
And
what
then
it is.
$730,000.
Right, that's what it's sold for. For more information here, just for records, the lot size, the lot that was sold, whether it was sold for higher or low, I don't know, but it was sold for, the vendor might, and the appellant might tell you that, $145,000.
And, okay, I'm not talking lot, I'm talking total property value when people buy a house. If it's adjacent to a retention pond, do they pay more?
I
How
would
much
pay
more
more,
would they
I would
pay?
pay more, and so would the market. The market is paying more for property on the retention pond. Let's say one is retention pond, the other one is opposite, same street,
Mhm, mhm.
but it's on the opposite and not on the pond, and the difference is considerable.
Okay.
So there is a difference, and therefore we make adjustment for properties on the retention pond.
Did you make an adjustment on this one?
This one, it's in your hands. I'm saying.
No, I'm saying, did you make an adjustment for comparable one and comparable two?
When we do
Because the retention pond.
anytime we do this, when we have a reconciliation, we do everything on the during the reconciliation process. As for what I've mentioned here, the $888,000 is based on the history of the property. It's not logical for me to start suggesting this property should be any lower than what I am suggesting.
Okay, I have a question for
But
you.
you will be able
Another
to
one,
make that
please.
your own judgment.
Another one. When you initially assessed this property, when you did the assessment, was it done, was the building there, or did you do it on the plans?
The building?
Yep. Was the house there?
Well-
At the time for your first assessment, was the house physically there?
Well, the house had to be assessed. This is what happens. First of all, there's
No,
a piece
that's
of...
what I'm saying. Was it assessed based on the building plans, or was it based on the house being there?
I'm suggesting, I hear your question, I'm suggesting that from time to time, we do assess the property, we evaluate the property, without seeing it, and it's based on the plan. So sometimes we do that.
So did you do it on the plan on this one?
No, it's another assessor.
So you don't know whether it was done based on the plans of the building or the building?
Based on some information that I have here on record, and you get something, sort of like, we put as much information as we can for record for whoever looking at the property would know, is that one assessor actually, keep in mind that this is information that we keep for ourselves, but we give it to you anyways, but you ask. What it says here is in 2015, based on, I see something like $129 for something, but they use the effective age, the effective date on this here when it was assessed was from 2014. So it was built in 2019, this property. They didn't move in until late in 2013, probably late as in November, December. Typically, we'd allow a month, sometimes 2 months, for people to move in and not make any adjustment. So it was done in 2014 as per adjustment. This person inspected property, there's no evidence here that suggests that it was inspected. If it was, they would say, okay, they've inspected this property in such and such a date, and this is what it is. There's no evidence of that.
Okay, so you're saying, you keep going back to the purchase price that they paid, what was it? How much did they pay for it?
$850,000.
$850,000, and then basically just doing an increase every year on it.
No, if you were increasing every year in that 2018 and 19, we would not reduce it to $856,000.
Try that again.
If we were increasing every year, it wouldn't be $836,000 at one point, which is what the current assessment is,
Okay.
2019. We are in 2019, it's $836,000. Last year, 2018, will also have been $836,000. And here's what's interesting. If I didn't put this information down, I couldn't answer those questions.
Okay. The property's never been appealed before?
I beg your pardon?
The property has never been, the assessment has never been appealed before?
I don't think so. From what I see here, appeal information, it looks like this is the first time, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you purchased in 2013?
Yeah. And can we explain the situation when we purchased?
In your presentation,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And now it's your presentation. Go ahead.
Thank you for the chance to present our situation and to explain the reason why we want to come here and ask for deduction for the property tax. Based on the information we got from the government, we have the right to present the reason based on the sales of comparable properties. So based on the sales of comparable properties, we searched the sales book and we found 6 comparables, which 3 of them were the same comparable properties from the assessor. So that's very good. So the first 3 comparable properties was in the regular lot, which is same with our lot. So they are assessed between 520 to 600, and the other 3 properties is assessed between 730 to 740. So the second 3 properties have bigger lot and have walkout basement to the pond, and that have more value than the regular lot. And our lot is backing to the superstore's parking lot, and it's very noisy. If we want to sell it, the resellable value for the lot is lower than the larger lot facing to the pond. So based on the 6 comparable properties, we think our the tax amount was 900 is much larger than the price our property should assess. So that's why we come here. And can I explain the situation of the homeowner? The mother was a housewife and new immigrant to Winnipeg in 2013, and she brought 3 kids. She cannot speak English very well. She don't know about anything about the house and how to purchase a house. She just want to a place to live too close to the University of Manitoba. So and then her 3 kids can go to the high school and then go to university easily. So she visited a few open houses in the summer of 2013, and she just decided to purchase 1125. Just in a few days, she decided to buy that one. She even didn't talk to an agent to help her. She just bought it from the builder. So that's why she don't have knowledge about the house. She don't know about the house value. She overpaid for the house at $850. later on, she noticed that the house was built by a small construction company, even not a big company. It's really small. Just bought an older house and then tore it down and then build a large one and sell it. This company just sold just maybe one property. It's that was an Indian from the owner was from India and just owned the construction property and then bought the older house and tore down. So she just don't know the house value, and then later on she still don't know about how the property tax was assessed. She just paid it. She think it was she must pay the property tax. She never know there's a way to argue the property assessment value. So that's why we paid for many years on the property tax, which is reasonable, which is unreasonable, which is incredible high value than the amount they should pay. That's our presentation. Thank you.
No questions? Mr. McBeth?
Mm-hmm. Bear with me just for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So if I understand correctly, your position would be she has overpaid for the home at the beginning
Yeah.
because of her lack of understanding of the real estate industry, etc. I
Yeah.
get that. And this may come back to our questions earlier of the assessor in terms of the initial assessment. Your position would be that perhaps the property, I have to ask this as a question, is it your position that the earliest assessment would be incorrect based on that inflated value that she paid? Is that what you're suggesting? The initial assessment in 2015 of $770,000 was perhaps based on the high inflated value she paid for the home. Is that your position? At $850,000?
Yeah, 850 is higher than the house should assess it.
Right.
But the homeowner never argue because they don't have knowledge about that.
Well, if you read the numbers that the assessor gave us, $770,000 was the assessment, not $850,000. Did you hear that when he spoke about that?
Sorry, excuse me. You mentioned that the assessor was suggested that 770.
770 in 2015.
In 2050.
Yeah, not 850, 770.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
2017年的时候，他是77万吧。
Can I explain?
Yes.
That would be based on 2010 market value.
2010?
Mm.
The home wasn't
The
sold until
12 and 13 would be based on 2010 market value.
Mhm. So rather than the purchase price, you look at market value.
You try to recognize that, but you still have to look at the assessment year, recycle, that would have been 2010. So 12 and 13 would be 2010 for 14 and 15 would be 2012 market value, and so on, right? So that today 2020 is 2018 market value. So the 770 would have been 2010 April 1st.
When I do the number calculations on the sales price versus square feet, it looks like she paid something between $200 and $300 a square foot in 2013. Is the house very beautiful inside? Is it?
There's a few extra thing which is fancy, but not very high value. I think there's lots of fancy lights in the kitchen, or fancy like heated floor in the kitchen, like this kind of stuff. in the main floor, it's all stone. It looks like stone, looks like tile, like this.
Okay.
Makes the house looks.
So then in 2017, she received an assessment of $873,000. If the assessor's numbers, $873,000 in 2017, that's a $103,000 increase.
Yes.
That wasn't noticed at the time?
They don't have knowledge about the house, how to assess the house value, and they don't know how, they don't know, and they can argue for the value. They don't know. They just know it last month because I told them. They just know that.
So you shared with them you thought it was a high assessment
Yes.
at the 880.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you know subsequently that in 2019 it was lowered to 836,000? That was shared by the assessor this morning. He told us that.
We don't know about the history of the assessment value.
So you were just hearing it the first time this
Yes.
morning?
Yes.
The last you know is 888,000, which is not
Yes.
acceptable to you.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us what would be acceptable?
700,000. 700,000.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Why I ask for 700,000 is based on the workout basement. The compared to the house, back to the pond, the lot value, and the construction cost between the workout basement and between the regular basement. So we think 700.
Thank you.
I was curious about the earlier assessments. There was, you weren't able to, you didn't notice the earlier assessments? Were you involved with this family? Is this a relative?
They were complaining about the assessment value and they're complaining how high they need to pay for the property tax, but they never know there's a way to appeal and ask for the assessment value reduced.
Okay, I guess that's, like, when did they start to discuss it with you? Like just this year, or you weren't involved with the family earlier on? That's what I'm trying to determine.
Yeah, we just talked about probably 2 months ago about it, because the mother talking to me and complaining about how high they need to pay for the property tax.
Okay, so it's not a relative or anything, it's just friends?
Yeah, just friends.
Okay.
And I suggest to her to argue and to appeal.
Okay, one thing I wanted to clarify, this individual, the owner of the property, they dealt with the contractor? The house was there when they purchased it, or it wasn't?
It was there. Maybe it was built 1 year ago. It was there, and when they moved in, the house was there for 1 year. So they tried to sell this house in 1 year, and then they never sold it. But because they just moved to Winnipeg, and then they never know how to buy a house, they just walk into the open house and they just buy it. So that's.
So it was in existence when they bought it during an open house, they did get to see it?
Yes,
Okay.
so before they move in, the house was already existed for probably more than 1 year. They tried to sell in 1 year, but they never sold.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harry?
Yep. Can you describe the finishings in the house? Because it's fairly new.
Yeah, that's.
Sorry, do you have hardwood floors
Yes,
throughout the house?
in the second floor and stairs,
On the stairs,
Yeah.
okay. And so the rest of the flooring is
tile,
tile,
yeah,
carpeting?
no carpeting.
No carpeting. And are your countertops, do you have granite or quartz or?
Granite or quartz, we're not sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
some sort of stone on
Yeah.
your, okay. Do you have that in your bathrooms? Okay. Do you know who the builder was?
I just heard, it's not big builder, they, it's not big builder, they just bought older house and tear down and build a new house to make money.
So you don't have the name of the builder then?
对，
It's not
跟 maybe
just,
不知道他名字，然后那个人叫什么上海，他跟几个女仆人一起做的。
so, it's not famous builder, just individuals bought the house, bought the older house and tear down.
Okay. That's all my questions. Thank you. Leave it with us. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Could I actually grab a copy of your evidence, because I can get one? Thank you.
Turnstone Terrace?
Yes. And did you want to swear on the Bible or affirm without? Affirm without? Could you please state your name?
林波波
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And did you want to swear on the Bible or affirm without? Could you please state your name? And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The truth. Thank you. And you have evidence. Thank you.
Whenever you're
Thank
ready.
you. 80 Turnstone Terrace. With the roll number 03 0929 808 35. In South Point, one-story single-family home built in 2014. It is 1,406 square feet. It's got a basement that's 1,077 square feet. I want to keep that as a record. That's 1,077 square feet. $462,000 is the assessed value that we have, and the four compounds that I have are all on South Point, and they're all one-story single-family home. The first comparable, 468 Stan Bailey Drive, was also built in 2014, and it's about the same size. It's got a basement finish as well. At 930 square feet is the basement finish on this property. For 660 square feet is a lot size that is highly similar to that of the subject property and has a commercial influence. It is $463,600. That is the time adjusted sale price and comparable number one. Comparable number two, 43 Lowen Place, built in 2013, about 50 square feet, smaller than that of the subject property with no finished basement. A lot size that is also highly similar, and $405,000 is the time adjusted sale price for it. Comparable number 3 on 11 Jewel Street, built in 2013, about the same size of house, and has 874 square feet of finished basement. $421,800 is the time adjusted sale price on that comparable. Then comparable number 4, built in 2015, about the same size, 1,400 square feet, no basement finish. And we have it at $421,000. Now, as I look to all these comparables, only one of them that are highly similar in terms of, they're similar in many ways, but in terms of the value of what was sold, comparable number 1 is around the same value. And why is it the same or so highly similar? It's a one-story built the same year, has the same number of square footage. The basement finish is almost the same. Number of bathrooms, just about a little bit, just a bit difference in terms of shower and that, as you can see. Central air, fireplace, attached garage, lot size, so many things are so highly similar to that of the subject property. And so although the other 3 comparables range between 405 to 421, I could make an adjustment to it, even though the current assessment of this property, I can tell you, is $370,000. Now I know then that you're looking at about an $80,000 or more difference in value, which I'm sure you will hear from the appellant. But I don't know, I guess I couldn't recommend any more, not at least until we get some more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of what the assessor has just said?
Yes, I do. Could you please tell us the percentage of increase in South Point area? How many percent, please?
6.96% average.
6.9%. Okay. Based on you, I compare with a 4 house with our house here. Then I see that the 2 house, compare number 1, compare number 2, and compare number 4, that not fit the basement. It's a difference. But if I add the finished basement core to our house, we pay $20,000 to fix our basement. If I put that into the house, you list comparison without fix the basement, their price is still lower than our house. Right? Now, when you mention that 468 stand period, this house, yeah, you can, if you see the number and similar to our house. However, this house has been sold several times. Each time, the owner sold the house, and when the new owner come, they upgrade the house. All right. Then even some of them they will try to sell the house, including the furniture, including appliances. So the price you see that it's not really the house. That including the everything, the house. So if you comparison in this way, so I feel later on when in my presentation I explain a little bit more. But this is only the feeling I have here now. And also, you use 11 draw compare number 3 street. This house, use this house to compare a house, and this house is slightly a little bit bigger than our house. The the assessment size of the land is also bigger than our house.
Sorry,
But-
sir, you're just getting into your presentation.
No,
part.
I just try to
Are
get.
you going to
this-
ask just a question?
Yeah, that's
What
a
do you-
question. Yeah,
Okay.
I have that. So this one is this the comparison, and the assessor used the example to compare our house. So this house, he used is 11 here, is less value than our house. Okay? So this is so I don't know why in this way, but this is my question.
Oh, you know why it's different. Well, when the house is being assessed or calibrated by computer, is done by mass appraisal, we typically want to pick the properties that are, again, I use the term highly similar. Indeed, you have 3 other properties that are sort of similar. And when we look at other properties that are selling for, at least the one that are 463, I don't know that it's going to start looking or ignoring rather comparable number 1. And because you didn't want to ignore that property, then it's a matter of how now are we going to reconcile what you have and what the assessment for the other properties would be. Now, one thing I'm looking at here, and this is still trying to answer your question, is it appears that the last assessment you had a Board of Revision decision of $307,000, which just suggests to me that your assessment was higher, we had it higher, you came to the board and you had that adjusted. Is it possible then, and I would like to think it's possible, that the basement finish was not included even at that point in time, and that's why there was such a difference between your 370 and what it is today. Rather, it's one of the reasons. Again, we're looking at the 1918 value at 376 and 1919 at, 2019 at even lower. So there was a Board of Revision decision at some point in time that would have taken into consideration, perhaps they didn't, the basement finish was not there, right?
It was.
No,
It was there.
It was there when we came the same
Last
time.
Board of Revision, it was finished.
I'm sorry?
It was finished.
Oh, it was
In
finished.
2018,
Yeah,
that's
2018,
correct.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, okay.
Yeah.
At the time when that was done, the previous assessment was, the basement was not finished. So that you know for the records, your 2020 assessment, the basement finish is there, and then being added on as a value.
Yeah.
Then it should be added now to the, because when we came 2018, yeah, that's we told the panel, the finish the basement, let's adjust already.
Okay. Furthermore, and again, the panel knows this very well too, that for 2020, your assessment is based on the condition it is right now. So it's conditioned as it is completely finished now, right?
Mhm.
All right, good enough.
Did you have any more questions? No? Okay, thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
Just judging by your last comment, then, have you visited the home? No.
No.
No visit. I'm trying to glean things from your presentation, and I'm looking at a $92,000 increase, which is 24.86%. And I'm wondering, are you suggesting that the finished basement was factored into that quite large increase?
Well, yes, it is. It is increased in there right now. I can't speak for the $370,000 assessment for like 2019. I was not there. I was not here to make that presentation. I know another assessor was since retired, so I can't speak for that. And again, we do accept what the Board of Revision would have, whatever value they would have had then. We don't question that. That's what it is, and that's what I'm giving you. I'm also telling you that the 2018 assessment was higher. The 2017 assessment was even higher, $381,000. So we do get these things, and when it happens, we don't worry about it. We wait until now. But the reality is that we're now having a new hearing, new evidence, new values, and there are times that I don't necessarily want to ignore what the previous assessment is, And there are times that I do ignore it, and this is one of those times when I'm not going to put any weight on the previous assessment.
But for clarification, you're
Oh,
not
yes.
sure if that assessment included a finished basement or not?
No, the $220,000 here, the previous assessment would not have been included. The basement finish would not have been included. It would not have been included.
Okay, so you know that for certain.
Yes, they may say otherwise, but it's not from our record.
We'll get to their testimony certainly in a minute or two.
Okay.
I got a question, because since the house was on the.
Excuse me, can you just leave it for your presentation? We're just asking questions right now.
I'll come back.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. No, that's fine, thanks, Mr. Chair.
I'm just doing a little quick reading here. Okay, so let me get this straight. You appealed the $370,000 assessment last time,
Yes.
and.
Sorry, this is questions to
Oh,
the assessor.
sorry.
No, you're.
Okay, I'll ask you. Last year they appealed the $370,000 assessment. They appealed the $370,000 assessment in 2018. And I think this is probably what you said to Richard. So was that, the $370,000, that's the figure they appealed because of the construction of the basement?
That was a Board of Revision decision.
The 370 was the Board of Revision decision.
decision.
Thank you, that's what I wanted, and that's my questions.
So,
Keep in mind, in 2017 is $381,000, 2 years prior to that.
so this property was built sometime after 2014. It was a land purchase in 2014 of 110, correct?
Yes.
So was the property, do you have any notes? Was the property inspected by anybody from the city? Did anybody go in?
Take a look, Madam Chair. There was a conversation when they had made phone calls to assessors in the office on determined value, and it was left only by conversation here. 2018, the basement finish was actually estimated, but it was probably contested. 2016, whatever basement they thought was there was removed. It wasn't
Okay.
there, according to some information. 2016, more than one basement finish removed because it wasn't there. And 2016, that was when the sale was registered, it looks like. No work done, used January 1st, including basement finish. And that's what happened in 2016 when we did the record. They had put the basement in, took it out afterwards. So it didn't go back in until more recently.
Okay, but did anybody go into the house from the city?
No information, no record of that.
Yeah, they
No,
do.
nothing.
Yes,
They do several
they
times.
do.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
okay, so just on your comparisons here, you're saying your comparison one, it's 468 Stan Bailey is your best?
Well, I'm saying that when I see that, I wasn't sure, it doesn't give me any kind of mandate to change that any lower than what is assessed at. And this is why we let the board make that decision.
Okay, and are you basing that on basement finish?
The 462 on the basement finish, yes.
Okay, so then 11 Drew Street,
Mm-hmm.
which is virtually the same size.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it has another bathroom. The land size is bigger. It's got the finished basement, but yet it's got an adjusted sale price of $421.
Sounds like you're thinking out loud, Madam Chair.
Well, I'm just thinking that's $40,000 difference, as in comparison 2 and 4, which don't have completed basements.
Again, you understand my reasoning for don't have that authority to make that change at that point in time.
Okay. That's all my questions. Okay, let's hear your presentation.
Okay, thank you for your time. I know it's a long morning. 80 Turnstone Terrace assessment value proposed from 370,000 to 462,000. 92,000 value jump. It's 20% higher than the last year. Yeah, we feel it's unfair. It's not correct. It must be amended. As you see on the top of the paragraph, in 2018, then based on the border revision decision, the value of the house is 370, and same as 2019 and 370. But 2020, from 2070, it moved to 462,000. So this is the situation. We compare some house in our area, and the first comparison, if you see the number 3, compare with our house and it turns to Terrace, how value, and maybe you think it's not the same house and not comparison, but we see it in the lake side of the walk after the basement. In the 2020, they not much change from city assessments. Some of them, like a 55, number 55, Turnstone Terrace, it only increased the $4,000. Now the number 19 is 5,000. Number 43 is 6,000. If you go turn page, and number 39 Turnstone Terrace, they are not including increase any. From 2007, 2019, 18, 19, and 2020, they don't increase anything. So, but compared to our house, while those houses have such high value on this street, the same street, but the rest the assessments value is not changed. However, our house, 80 Turnstone Terrace, in the year, it from 370,000 moved to 462,000 in 2020, 92,000 up. So we feel it is not truly a market value. The first one here, we compare the other 14 house similar to our house with finished the basement. All the information that come from sales, sales book, and also same type of the house. We didn't have it's a 2-story house. We didn't have anything. It did not finish the basement. We all compare this. Then, if we see that 80 Turnstone Terrace, 1406 square feet, and the landlord is 4724. Now, it's 2018, the roof assessment rule is 370, and similar in 2019. Now 2020, did 462,000. So total ASPT square feet is 329. So this is our house. If I compare down and compare number 1, it's 11 drawer with the assessor use the information. And this house is 16. In the land outside is bigger than our house, but that's the 2020 assessment rule is lower in our house. And the percentage that the total ASMP is 312. It's lower than our house. Then if we go to compare the number 2, it's 3 Big Stone Terrace here. This house is the living square is way bigger than our house. It's 1677 square feet. In the lot size is 921 square feet. So it is almost 3,000 and bigger than ours square feet. Then their house sell, that house assessment road is a 478,000. So if we compare this one, and that's much big house, much bigger house than ours, but that's the assessment house. It's not much higher than ours. Then the percentage of ASMP square feet is only 285 square feet. So there's another one down here. It compared 3 and 2028 etc. Their percentage is ASMP square feet is 292,000. Oh, no, sorry, 292 square feet. Okay. Then we turn another page. Then item number 5, Turnstone Terrace. Turnstone Terrace is located 150 away from the permanent highway, perimeter highway, 150 away from Keniston Highway, 200 meters away from the big garbage hill in Winnipeg South. Considering environments, the house of value, 80 Turnstone Terrace, should be much lower value due to its surrounding and location, heavy traffic, and bad environments such as the garbage hill. And besides, the wind holes to 80 Turnstone Terrace, snow hill in the winter, smoking around the house, 5 or 6 house owners or members smoking all year long. In some houses, one house live in 2 families, and 8 to 12 people live in the same house. The house family and sell food or take order from the house, and you can see the picture and from behind. And I have some picture there to share with you. Now from behind it, some in summer, some in the winter, you can see the traffic and parking in on the streets. Now this number 5, number 6. I know you try to use the 468 house to compare our house. Okay, the similar style, a similar square feet, same building. They all call the Moonrise, the house. But since then, 468 the house is several times. So each owner come and they will upgrade their house. Then they raise the value. Even if there's a situation, then if we see the house value here, it is 448,000 for assessments. Then the square feet is 320, but ours is 329, and ours similar that, but still, as I at the beginning and I questioned to Mr. Assessor, this house, they have 2 bedrooms in the basement. Then in the dry bar, kitchen, something like that. But our house, we never saw it, so we don't have lots of fancy basement or appraised a lot. In this house, when we bought it, it's 330,000. Then we upgrade 20,000. Then in 2018, we paid it 20,000 to finish the basement. That's the house value. So, in conclusion, we saw the 80 Turnstone Terrace, 462,000. Proposed value is much higher. Then the house similar or larger value from 370 jump to 462, it 92,000 jump. And also our house value is by average is the 20% jump, 20% jump. Then the last year, if you compare it, the average, just Mr. Assessor mentioned that, the area South Point is 6.9. So our is 24%. So we feel it is way too high for us. That's why today we are here for and to try to find some help from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Mr. Whitbeck?
Well, the first question, what do you think a reasonable value would be?
Well, I think it's like even average, like the percentage, if they say it all 6 point something, then we okay.
But on what value, sir? On the 370,000?
Yeah, around the 390 something, yeah, also it's 395, or even in, well, we do support the city if the city need the money, but that's got to be fair, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
I said I would come back to the issue on the sequence of events. So I understand a little bit here. The 370,000 was the last evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
And did you come to the board
Mm-hmm.
to review,
Mm-hmm.
and they issued that 370?
Mhm.
And what was it before that? What did you appeal?
420.
420.
Yeah. 421,000.
421?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the board said 370.
Mm-hmm.
Was the basement finished then?
Yes.
Yes.
So it was all complete?
Mhm.
That's where you spent the 20,000 plus whatever else you had
Mhm.
invested in
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before that, and they make mistake, the city. The first one, and when we moved in 2016, we got the bill. Then they said I'll finish the basement. At the time, we didn't finish the basement.
Yeah.
Then we report to them. At the time, the assessment was high. Then later on, we realized a mistake. They sent people to go to the house to inspect several times.
Every year there has a city inspector. come
Yeah,
to
they
the
go
house.
there, they go see. That's what
They
we have
couldn't
done.
find the
I-
water, like a.
It's something in the basement, and this one, and we didn't like it very much, but we didn't try to find the legal, let's go into the court. We didn't try,
They
because,
threaten us, so it's
Yeah.
pretty bad for the city. They come every year. Even last year, they very rude to us.
Okay.
Then we found the builder.
But that was your first review?
yeah, 2018, it
Was
our
your
first
review.
review in the board.
This is
the
your
first one.
second review?
Yeah, that's correct,
Okay.
yeah.
So I've got the sequence right, I believe. And I understand how this is going. I'm good with my question.
You said you purchased it in 2016?
No,
No.
2014.
14, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Original owner.
Are any of the data that you supplied to us, is that sales or is that all based on assessed values? When you're talking about the increases on these properties? And you're showing the increases
Yeah.
here?
Oh.
Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
based on
yeah.
assessed value or is that on,
No.
That's
the
assessed
value?
value.
No, this is a city sales book. I got every information from city sales book. This one.
Is that actual sales or is that assessed? When you say the sales book, it must be sales.
This increase,
Yeah, the increase it might increase. The increase it might based on the
The last year and the this
and the
year.
this year.
this
Okay.
year.
Yeah, then I add over there for me to understand or for you to get more information. It not let the city keep your lit house it increase 5,000. No,
No.
that's not the truth.
Because I
That's
keep
not
the data in my books, so every year I check every city assessment for around the house. I keep on it,
All right,
yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, did you say you have a city assessor every year?
Not at every search processor, but they have been
No,
in the
sorry.
house.
They have been in the house?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
They've been in the house. Several reasons they were in the house. The number one is, the 2016, they said finish the basement. We said no. Then they have somebody go there to check it out. It finishes the basement or no. So we tell the truth, it no. That's number one. And they was there.
So somebody was in your
Yeah,
house?
yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have a record?
Let me clarify.
Three times.
Let me clarify,
Yeah.
because then it seems as though I'm hiding something. I'm looking here some notes here whereby some TA technical assistant actually go to inspect the basement that typically sometimes we had a basement in maybe based on a permit. Now, the person that went didn't see a basement there and that's it. And then that was 2016, Wendy, who no longer works there, Justin went afterwards, there was no basement finish. And then Matthew had put the basement in by a certain point, maybe because of a permit, that was taken off. So what I'm referring to is not inspected for the basement finish, I'm talking about what we did not see, a basement finish. It's not there and we're not putting a basement in. So in those years, the basement wasn't in. So I'm
Okay.
suggesting to you,
No,
Madam
I'm just
Chair,
wondering, did anybody, like, just look at the house, are there any notes on,
the basement finished, I don't see that.
no, just on the house
The
in
house.
general?
No, I don't know that. This is a
I mean, if
brand
you
new
dare.
house. As I did mention earlier, that some new houses, we don't get a chance to inspect every house. People go in and
Yes,
often
but somebody
try.
was in the house, is my question. Somebody was in the house, but
To
all they
inspect the
talked
basement.
about was the
The
basement.
basement
whether-
finish. You
Okay.
see, once the, once,
Okay, no, that's it, that's all I need to know.
okay,
That's
the
no other
basement finish is what we're
information.
referring to, yeah. That
Um,
basement was afterwards.
So you purchased the lot in 2014 and you
Mhm.
built the house?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And can you speak to the finishings in your house?
What do you mean?
What is your flooring?
Lemonade.
It's laminate it's lamination all the way through?
No, we got
Do you have
bedroom
carpeting,
is
do you have
carpeting.
hardwood?
No hardwood.
Do you have quartz or granite or?
Granite
Granite in your kitchen and your bathrooms?
in kitchen.
In kitchen only.
Okay. And who was your builder?
ANS.
ANS, okay.
Yeah.
And was the house already built by ANS when you purchased it?
No.
No,
We
we buy the
buy
lot,
the lot
and
and
build
like,
the house.
yeah.
So then you bought the plans from ANS?
From-
and
yeah,
they
that's
built
correct.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
And it was standard plans, or did you make changes to the plans?
It's a
Standard.
standard, we added
20,000
20,000.
in upgrades
Yeah.
when we bought it.
And how much did it,
I
paid 110 for the lot, and
We
how
paid
much was
12
the house?
12 for one.
12 yeah, no, it, how to say, 12, 1, 2, 1, 0, 0, 0.
For the lot.
So 121, let's say.
Sorry, the house was,
For the lot.
yeah, for, no, I
Yeah,
got the
yeah,
lot,
yeah,
but
yeah.
for the house, how much was
For the house, and we all together, we pay around 330,000 or so. Then we add into in 20,000,
And
and
the
for the
upgrades,
upgrades, then we'll around 350,000. That's the value for, that's the price we paid for it
Okay,
at 2014.
right.
Yeah,
Then we hired the contractor, just
To
change
do the
one-
basement,
To
yeah.
do the basement, one bedroom for the basement, so it's very basic.
20,000 what we pay, including the material and labor.
Everything, yeah.
Okay, great, super. Thank you very much for coming and your presentation.
Thank you very much for your time.
Sorry for the long wait.
Okay.
This gentleman has waited longer.
Okay.
Okay. Are you guys okay just to hear one more? Or do you want 5 minutes?
You know,
Are
one
you
more,
sure?
one more is
Mr.
good.
Ramswack, are you okay to
I'm okay.
just do the last?
I didn't.
I know, my mouth is like.
Do you want to swear in on the Bible or affirm without? Bible? Okay. Could you please state your name? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. And do you have evidence? 5 copies. Awesome. Thank you.
What's the address on this one? What's the address?
This is the Fort Burnfield Bay.
Sorry. No, sorry, Richard. Thanks, guys.
What's the item number?
Sorry, it is 4 Burnfield Bay.
What's the item number there? Item 1312, you know?
17. Oh, 17.
17?
Sorry, I didn't get much.
Yeah.
Okay, good, just making sure.
Oh, yeah, no worries. I didn't realize.
All right, for Bournefield Bay with a roll number 0682226,000 in Richmond West. It's a one-story single-family home. It was built in 1996, 1,249 square feet with a full basement that's been developed. Multiple bathroom and a 6,341 square feet lot size. We have some land influence here with a bus stop, region traffic, etc. $405,000 the assessed value on this property, and there are 4 comparables here to support the value. Alright, so what do we have? The basement finish on the subject property is 575 square feet, and comparable number 1 on number 57 Branston Crescent, a one-story home built in 1994, about the same size, slightly larger rec room area, which is 800 square feet. 4,974 square feet is the lot size, and $409,000 is the time adjusted sale price on comparable number 1. Comparable number 2, number 3, Islesview Place, Richmond West, one-story single family built in 1998, around the same size of home, 1,214 square feet, with a 693 square feet finished basement. 5,806 square feet is the size of the lot. $400,800 is the time adjusted sale price for comparable number 2. Comparable number 3, 49 Branston Crescent, one story, single family built in 1994, 1,374 square feet. This one is slightly larger. 780 square feet is the size of the finished basement. $395,800 for the time adjusted sale price on this one. And lastly, comparable number 4, 96 Leon Bell Drive, 1999 built, 1,181 square feet is the size, slightly smaller. It has 691 square feet for finished basement, and 5,789 square feet is the lot size. This property is $405,800. And those are the comparables. Those are the selling price of these properties, around $400,000. The lease is $395,000, The highest one is 409. The subject property is somewhere in between, and therefore I think that the assessment should be conformed. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have questions that the assessor, on the assessor's information?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my first question is, in your list, the comparison, number 1, 2, 3, the sales price and the adjusted sale price is fine. But did you notice that assessed value for 2020 in the list actually is cut down, significantly cut down?
No, okay, go on.
For example, the Camp 1, their sales, adjusted sales price is $409, and actually, I checked that assessed value for 2020 changed to $377. Yeah. So why so much cut down?
That's why so much I like to do pass around that one page right here, then you get a chance to read it.
Sales or assessed value?
No, I know this is based on the sales value, right? So later I will do my presentation. I have my own samples, and my question is, if that sales value is for your samples is very reasonable, why the assessed value is cut down?
Okay, I'll answer your question, but before I do that, Ms. Harrison, would you mind giving that one pager that I left here this morning with you? I encourage you to take that and read it at home, but in the meantime, I'm going to answer your question. Okay. what we're here to defend really is the sale price. The time when we use an assessment on home and it never happens where it's exactly the same, is that if the assessment and the sale price is the same, then it's fine. We can say it's assessed at so much. But I don't know if I've ever seen any time when you have a sale price, adjusted sale price at 409, and the assessment is 377. So basically what's happening here is that this property here, property number 1, is under assessed. That's what it is. It's under assessed. We do not compare assessment with assessment, and I encourage you to read that one page here that Ms. Harrison just gave you. Take a chance, read it in details, read it 4 or 5 times until you understand. The Court of Appeal is involved in that, and we do not compare assessment. What we do is compare market value. So basically that 409 is the market value of this home. We cannot ignore the sale price. We can ignore the assessment because we're not here to compare the assessment.
What's the average, second question, what's the average price rising for the my neighborhood?
I don't know the average price in your neighborhood. I don't have that information.
Assessment.
I don't even know the average assessment. But if you're asking me the average increase, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Like other people have? You are in that 6.96% increase average.
6.9. Sure. And my question is done.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
So just for my clarification then, this home was purchased in 129, that is not a land sale. The home was purchased in 2000 for 129, that was not a land price, that was the entire home.
No, it couldn't be land because the house itself was 1996.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to reconcile in my head.
Yeah,
Okay. Did you visit this home?
No, I didn't.
So no comment on condition then, or finishes?
No.
Okay, okay, that's fine.
No questions from me?
And no questions from me. Sir, if you'd like to give us your presentation.
So I start. Thank you so much for the hard work. I think it's a long time. I just do very quick presentation.
Okay,
So
thank you
probably-
for waiting so long.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, after I received the assessment, the documents, I did the research. So I pick up 8 samples and comparison to my house. And this is the sales range from April 1st, 2006 to April 1st, 2018. So, yeah, I will not check each one here. So if you look at it, the first one is very comparable to my house, but the time adjusted sales price, 369. Yeah, so compare with those 8 properties. I did some calculation just like the city did. So the average, the average square foot is 292 from my sample. So if I use that average price, every square foot times my living area should be 364. So that is close to my last time assessment value, and I still calculate. This morning I calculated that comparison, the full comparison from the city. That the average price for each square foot is 319. So if you use that one 2 times my living area, it should be 399, even lower than my assessed value right now. So I think this is no call it just the key question now is what's the current condition of my house? Can sold that price like over 400. So from my paper, you can see my basement actually is not finished. But you know, probably it is half finished. There are installed doors. So city sink, it is finished. But from the picture, you can see about I measured 430 square feet is unfinished basement. No ceiling, drywall not installed, and the concrete floor. And you can see even the picture, the page 2, the picture 3, that finished the part about 450 square feet. That finished a very simple renovation. So actually, it's a very, very low price. If you check the picture 4, that my garage is insulated. There are no insulated wall, ceiling, and the garage door is not insulated also. If you check the page 4, the living area and the kitchen. After we moved in 2006, there are no upgrade at all. So it's very simple renovation. And if you look at the external, there are some wall needed to be repaired. This is the picture 7 and 8. And even the hardwood floor needs repair. If I going to sell it, they are not cannot sell like this condition. And you can see the picture 10 is my air conditioning. That is the original one. I didn't replace it. This is start to use from 1996. And even the furnace is original one. And the last two pages, picture 12 and 13, this is a stop sign, bus stop. I don't mention anymore. So conclusion is my house is no upgrade, no fancy renovation. If I going to sell this house to the market, at least I calculate about 30,000 for the upgrade. Like finish the whole, all the basement, upgrade, change the furnace, because furnace is more than this year is 24 years old. So after upgrade all that one, probably I can sell that at this price, like the city listed in their evidence. Yes. So. I still calculate my assessed value arised for 2020 is 9.5. This is over the 6.9, the average percentage in our area, Richmond West. So, based on my calculation, I think this assessed value 405 is not reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
What is the reasonable value in your mind?
I think because this is my third time for appeal. Last two times I won, and the last time it's the city tried to increase my assessed value to 3.9 something, 3.9 maybe 5. But after appeal, I said this is actually after I calculate, I think the value is lower than 360. Then but that is the last decision is 370. But even that one, based on my real current condition, 370, I think is a marketing value and is very reasonable. I just keep the same because last time is over assessed already.
Okay.
Yeah,
You purchased the home, did you purchase the home in 206?
206.
Have you spent money on the home in the last
Only
13
changed
years?
the, hot water tank, $1,000.
One hot water tank?
Yeah,
Okay.
furnace and air condition all didn't change. And the hot water flower is a previous owner did.
What about interior finishes? Have you upgraded the interior of the home during that time? Upgraded the interior, floor,
Interior, no.
counters,
Nothing.
bathrooms?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay. Thank you, no further questions.
Do you live in the home?
Yes, with my
Have
wife
you-
and my daughter.
Okay, you've lived there since your purchase?
Yes.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, sir, what was your previous, you were here 2 years ago? You were here at the board?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay. What was your assessment?
You mean the final decision?
Well, both. Do you remember what the city had assessed it at and then what it was reduced to?
They assessed it as 395, I think. If I, yeah, definitely over 390, and the final is 370.
Madam Chair, $365,000 in 2018,
I'm sorry.
$365 in 2018, $370 in 2016. Both of a version decision.
And that was reduced from 395?
Well, the 218, it was from 382 to 365. And 2016 from 385 to 370.
And so you're asking for 370?
Yeah, if I,
So no increase?
yeah, you know, I have the 8 samples, and if I calculate that per square foot price, I combination with the city's four samples with my 8, so that I calculate just this morning is 370. It's just 370 and the 328. So very close. So I know that you know, so the city's comparison is that is from the market. That's probably the high price for those samples, and mine maybe pick up the low price. So I think reasonable calculation is a combination all together. Use the average. This is your cities always do like that. So that calculation is the shoe is 370.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Thank you for coming. I'm sorry, yes?
The next step is I just waiting for a letter.
Yes, yes.
So-
It should be there in about 2 weeks or so.
So if like agree or not agree, they still have that further like.
Oh, if you're not happy with the decision, you can take it to the municipal board,
Okay.
and there will be instructions included
Okay.
with our decision on that if you wish to
Oh,
continue the process.
Division is made by your
By
board,
this
right?
panel, yes.
And not cities.
No,
Oh.
no,
Right.
no. We are not city employees.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Long war.
Yes.
Long war.
Are you okay to, we just have two to
Yeah, I
two to
finish in
read
2
in,
minutes.
you're okay?
Okay. All right.
This will be quick.
1081 Scorefield Boulevard.
Yes.
With a roll number 03065432600 in Whitebridge, one-story single family, 1991 year built, 1569 square feet with a finished basement. That's 69 square feet in living room. 5600 square feet of lot size with a medium traffic land influence. $444,000 is the assessed value, and you should have that by now with the email, I think, at $436,000 as recommended and was accepted. Meanwhile, I'll give you the 4 comparables. Each of these comparables are on Whitebridge. Comparable number 1 on Monticello, one-story built the same year, 1,600 square feet, no finished basement at $427,000. Comparable number 2 on Scorefield, one-story built in 1989, slightly smaller, 1,474 square feet with a finished basement, but have the same land influence at $430,000. Comparable number 3 at Fleetwood Road, built in 1994, about the same size of that of the subject property. Medium traffic, $441,700 this time adjustment. And the last one is number 30, Westmoreland, a single family built in 1989, 1,537 square feet with a finished basement, $430,000. I suggested $436 and he accepted it. And there is an email attached.
And that's to do with reflecting the market value, correct?
Right. 773D. Next one.
1189 Ashburn. Oh, no, it's,
Are we doing
oh,
the-
that's her, okay, sorry, yeah, it's Daly.
No, you want the 773 Day Street now?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll number 1201-106-62100 in Lord Roberts. So one-story home built in 1957, 920 square feet with a partly finished basement, 4,800 square feet of the lot size, and land influence shows a bus route, and it's a corner lot. $304,000 is the assessment. The 4 comparables are number 1, 769 Day Street, 1956. See, a little larger than that of the subject property by about 95 square feet. Same lot size, almost $300,000 is the assessed. That's the time adjustment for comparable number 1. Comparable number 2, 555 Hetherington. One-story built around the same time, 960 square feet is the size of the property with a finished basement. Lot size is almost the same. $267,000 is the time adjusted sale price. Number 3 on Branson, number 490, that is. Single family built the same year, 900 square feet is as closest to that of the subject in terms of size and certainly in terms of year built. With a finished basement, and the lot size is almost the same, $278,000. Last one is on Jubilee, built in 1924 with some renovation done to it to improve the effective age to 1960. Slightly smaller, 5,300 square feet is the lot size, $292,900. The recommendation was $285, and they accepted that, and I think you also have an email to confirm that.
Right.
Am I good to go now?
Yes, thank you.
I know it's a long day, you would have preferred to finish 2 hours
This
ahead
hearing
of time.
is officially closed. Thank you.